One inside the demon castle, the demon king's elite guards were fast asleep, forever. This was the exact spot where Hanju found his target. He smirked. After taking down the demon king, Hanju was about to strike it incredibly rich. But right as he leaped in for the killing blow, a system alert popped up. He was being disconnected from the server. Instantly, the demon Vortsberg saw his opening. The demon sliced the hero clean in half. Meanwhile, back in the real world at Hanju's place, a group of thugs was tearing his apartment apart, yanking the internet cables right out. The moment Hanju woke up from his forced logout, he was absolutely furious. He grabbed the leader by the collar, demanding to know if he was ready to die. The other goons begged Hanju to calm down, claiming they were only helping him quit his gaming life. Turns out, Hanju used to work for these loan sharks as their personal problem solver. And yeah, he handled the violent kind. He was a certified genius in high school. But he also knew exactly how to blow through cash like nobody's business. Hanju still beat them up, but they had a point. He had spent every last cent. He bought a brand new VR capsule and became utterly obsessed with the game savior of humanity. In this massive virtual world, the open landscape is endless, and the combat feels totally real. Players can earn global fame, recruit beautiful companions, and explore deep mechanics. It is a place where even a low-level fighter can rise to become an absolute king. That is why Hanju borrowed 1 billion won from these dangerous loan sharks. Talk about the worst timing ever, they had just ruined everything. They stopped him right before he could claim the reward to clear his entire debt. Now he was going to make them pay. One of the thugs finally spoke up. The thug reminded Hanju that they were the collectors and should be making the threats. Hanju just stared him down, daring him to go ahead and try it. He promised they would get their money, but checking his bank account revealed a sad reality. His account was completely dry. The thug offered to let him work off the debt instead. They wanted him back as their problem solver, but Hanju simply looked at his machine. Remembering his unfinished quest inside Savior of Humanity, he made a choice. He refused. He told them to get lost, promising he would pay them back very soon. For now, he needed to finish that mission. He logged right back into the game. Spawning in the main city, he faced a massive penalty for dying in combat. His account was restricted for 22 hours. He wondered how he could make money now. Suddenly, a voice noted he seemed to be having some serious difficulties. Seeing a young girl approach him, Hanju asked who she was. She introduced herself as Aquila, the legendary game master of Savior of Humanity. Believing a kid was running the game was tough, but she warned him not to judge. Still, Hanju argued that he could not just take her word for it. Proof was what he needed. In response, Aquila simply smirked and snapped her fingers. Instantly, everyone in the crowded square froze solid. Hanju was stunned. This was a time-stop spell, easily a triple S rank skill. No, she just crashed the entire server to make a point. That spectacular show of power was certainly enough to make Hanju believe her. She then mentioned a special event for the 7th anniversary of the game. An invitation was offered just as a global system announcement rang out. A completely new game world was opening. Aquila urged him to clear it first. He needs a brand new character, but Han Jae-woo protests he is not finished yet. But Aquila sweetens the deal, offering a massive reward of 25 billion won. She mockingly says she understands if he is too scared of the threat. His pride is instantly triggered. Aquila notes his search for the ending. She claims he might finally find the answers he needs in this brand new world. To prove it, she presents a mysterious object containing the clues to that final secret. Han Jae-woo is absolutely mesmerized, and Aquila offers a special bonus if he starts now. Suddenly, a notification alerts Han Jae-woo that 30 million won has been deposited. Aquila explains that he is her absolute VIP, which is why she is sponsoring him. Seeing the cash, Han Jae-woo decides this job is worth it even if he fails. After all, this massive advance is more than enough to cover his monthly interest. He simply cannot walk away from this. He would be a total fool to reject it. Aquila smiles, noting she expected nothing less, and prepares to transfer him immediately. She starts altering the game code, manipulating the virtual world around them. Within this universe, she wields the unquestionable power of an actual goddess. As the expansion loads, their entire digital reality begins to shift and warp. Before a lone door, Aquila explains that stepping through will transport him. Han Jae-woo understands the goal. He just needs to step forward to begin. Without wasting any more precious time, the young man strides directly toward the door. But before he steps inside, he reminds Aquila to keep her promised reward ready. As he walks through, Aquila casually mentions she forgot one tiny detail. If his character dies in this world, he will perish in real life too. Hearing this terrifying news, Han Jae-woo freezes in absolute horror. But it is far too late to turn back. He has already crossed the threshold. Landing hard in the new world, he immediately faceplants onto the dusty ground. Groaning in agony, he wonders why a mere game could possibly hurt this bad. Then her grim warning echoes in his mind. The stakes are deadly real. He realizes there is only one option. He must clear this game or die trying. Still, he is absolutely furious at that deceitful goddess for setting him up. Since this is a fresh character, he has zero inventory, not even a drop of water. He stumbles through a desolate forest, cursing Aquila with every agonizing step. Opening his stats screen, he discovers his health bar is dangerously low. To make matters worse, he has been walking 12 hours straight without rest. Severe dehydration is setting in. This survival run is a total nightmare. But just as hope begins to fade, a faint, rushing sound reaches his ears. Water is close. Driven by pure instinct, he scrambles toward the life-saving noise. He stumbles upon a crystal-clear stream, feeling like a desperate survival show host. At this point, he lacks the strength to even hate Aquila anymore. All he wants is to drink, but as he approaches the water, he stops. Right in front of him, a mysterious woman is bathing in the stream. He freezes completely, his mouth wide open, staring in absolute awe. He cannot tear his eyes away from her, but as he tries to get a closer look, a massive system pop-up blocks his view, demanding payment for premium DLC. Han Jae-woo loses his mind. Why on earth would a VIP have to pay extra? He thought this exclusive map was fully unlocked. Suddenly, rustling sounds surround him. By other women who tell him he has to pay just to see what lies ahead. Hanju drools and asks the price, then gets captured. Captured, a witch brands him a pervert and commands him to freeze. She warns that if he behaves himself, he will at least get to keep his clothes. Still completely fixated on the downloadable content he forgot to buy, Hanju asks the price again. Another prisoner stares at him in total confusion, asking what he is talking about. He introduces himself as Rude, a monster hunter, while Hanju listens. Hanju introduces himself as Valorsted and asks how the hunter got captured. Rude explains it was just pure bad luck while tracking his prey. He asks if Valorsted had similar bad luck, and our hero nods. The hunter sighs, feeling pretty bad for the young guy and his luck. But Valorsted tells him not to worry, keeping a pretty cool head. Escaping from tough situations like this is his absolute specialty. Plus, he suddenly remembers writing the actual guide to defeat these witches. It took him 3 whole days of intense gaming to compile it. He documented all the 5 witches, Gunda, Kaldra, Alda, Fugal, and Hajiju. They are just introductory bosses that players must face. Yet thousands of players have died to them, making them pretty infamous. But look closely and you will see a highly disorganized group. To escape, Hanju just needs to exploit this single weakness. He looks at Fugal and casually mentions how surprised he is she is still alive. He claims Hajiju was planning to kill her, sending Fugal into a rage. She immediately turns on her colleague, exactly as our clever hero predicted. He knew they absolutely detested each other. Hanju adds that Hajuju wanted to take all her possessions. Fugal demands to know if it is true, while Hajuju snaps back instantly. She tells Fugal not to believe a word from a prisoner. But then she demands a cut of Fugal's newly acquired gold anyway. She is always pretty greedy when it comes to her sister's things. Alda, completely missing the tense mood, chimes in with her own theory. Meanwhile, Gunda is only focused on when the next meal will be ready. And Kaldura, who absolutely loves brawling, demands to join the fight. It does not take long before they start tearing each other apart. Hanju celebrates, his petty provocation worked out flawlessly. In theory they are a team, but in practice they are always squabbling. Most players lose because they do not know about this dynamic. But with his deep meta-knowledge, our hero holds a massive advantage. As the chaos erupts, he whispers to Rude that this is their chance. But before they slip away, he wants to play one quick prank. Hanju gives them a sharp pull, sending the witches tumbling into their cauldron. Then he points Rude toward the exit, but he is not quite ready to leave. Even if these bosses are pretty dumb, they still drop massive amounts of experience. But right as he makes his move, Fugal's snake wraps tightly around his leg. The furious witch vows she is not going down alone and drags him back. Hanju temporarily forgot how incredibly weak his current character actually is. The trap makes escape virtually impossible, but Rudd swiftly comes to help. Arming himself quickly, he slices through the snake, earning the protagonist's gratitude. Hanji Woo stands back up and immediately asks to borrow Rudd's weapon. Rudd hands over his bow, questioning if the boy even knows how to shoot. He calmly replies that he can manage, then fires directly at a hanging jar. The glass shatters, pouring its deadly contents straight down onto the unsuspecting targets. Heijuju gasps in horror, realizing that the shattered pot held hazardous acid. Mixing it with the cauldron creates a lethal bomb while the witches watch helplessly. Completely helpless, they scream as a massive explosion suddenly erupts. The lair blows apart, but Hanji Woo and Rudd escape just in time. Rudd asks if they're finally dead, prompting Hanji Woo to check his system. The protagonist confirms their demise, silently praising his incredible luck in this battle. Surviving was a miracle at his low level, and Rudd admits his despair. He expresses his deep gratitude to Hanji Woo and decides to offer a reward. Presenting a gift of thanks, he hands the protagonist a pair of cuffs. Staring at the rare red dragon fruit cuffs, Hanji Woo is absolutely thrilled. He has never seen them before, but Rudd admits he stole them. Taking the loot, Hanji Woo quickly devours the stolen dragon fruit cuffs. Instantly, the system alerts him of a massive change. He has gained Dragon Bone. He gains immense power, watching his combat stats skyrocket beyond belief. No average player could ever dream of securing such massive strength so early. Sensing his luck turning, he notices Rudd watching him with keen interest. The veteran hunter extends a direct invitation for Hanji Woo to join. Instantly, the system confirms he unlocked a friendly route with the hunter. Despite liking the offer, the protagonist politely declines because of other plans. Rudd chuckles, noting that the young man sure keeps himself incredibly busy. But on second thought, Hanji Woo realizes this is a golden opportunity. Lacking a class, all his massive newly acquired experience will vanish. To prevent that waste, he decides to officially take on the hunter profession. Asking if 3 months of training is enough, he waits for a reply. Rudd scoffs, warning him that mastering these skills takes at least 3 years. Striking a deal, Rudd leads the protagonist deep into the mysterious forest. He orders Hanji Woo to hide, giving him exactly 30 minutes head start. Rudd wonders if they are truly dead, waiting for the system check. Hanji Woo sees a notification confirming a friendly path is unlocked. Though pleased with the hunter's offer, the protagonist remains highly focused. He declines, explaining that his current itinerary keeps him very busy. Rudd comments on his busy schedule, but Hanji Woo suddenly spots an opportunity. Lacking a class, his newly gained experience has nowhere to go. Unused progress will vanish, so he decides to accept the hunter job. Having consumed those dragon fruits, his physical stats are now fully maximized. With this boost, he is confident the hunter will never trace him. However, Hanji Woo is proven wrong, as Rudd tracks him down almost instantly. Rudd easily locates his hiding spot, mockingly telling him to try harder. Before those 30 minutes even ended, Hanji Woo realized his grave mistake. Still, because of his sheer passion and effort, Rudd gives him 10 bonus points. Hanju asks how he tracked him down so quickly, but Rudd just smiles. It has been a long time. Finally, Rudd found an interesting student. Work hard from now on, Rudd says. Suddenly, his system screen flashes. Quest complete, the first test is over, and a new challenge begins. As Hanju spends more time hunting, he unlocks several powerful new skills. Joining Rudd definitely was not a bad idea. 3 months fly by. Back at camp, Rudd asks if Hanju has already mastered everything. Hanju replies with a smirk if his master does not believe him. Go hide anywhere in the deep forest and try to escape him. Rudd loves that bold, competitive spirit. Fine then, let the game begin. But if you cannot find me in an hour, you are cooking dinner. Hanju gladly accepts the challenge, completely hyped for the hunt. High up on a cliff, Rudd smiles, pleased with his apprentice's potential. Still, he thinks he shouldn't make things too tough on the kid. Surely, hiding up here will keep him totally out of sight. But Hanju suddenly grabs his leg from behind, scaring him half to death. Next, Rudd tries slipping among the trees, but gets spotted immediately. He hides in a dozen different spots, every single time, found instantly. Honestly, how does anyone master 5 years of training in 3 months? Absolutely desperate, Rudd retreats to a deep cave as his final hope. This is his final hiding spot. Surely, he is completely safe here. After all, this dark cave is the infamous home of a deadly hellhound. But Hanju still surprises him, standing right there. Tip number 1, Master. Not even a violent earthquake can wake a sleeping hellhound. Am I approved? Still completely dumbfounded, Rudd can only mutter a stunned yes to Hanju. Stepping outside, Rudd admits he never expected such insanely rapid progress. Hanju humbly deflects, replying that he simply had an amazing master. Of course, he secretly knows his cheat system did all the heavy lifting. He lets the proud veteran take all the credit. Still, Rudd is thoroughly impressed. Hanju is incredibly talented, but he also has a truly flawless memory. Rudd confesses he has never met a single genius like him before. The boy is bound for greatness. Finally, their grueling training is over. Rudd asks if Hanju is ready to tackle his next personal goal. Hanju explains he needs to make some quick cash before moving on. Hearing this, Rudd mentions a close friend of his. He works as a mercenary, asking if Hanju is interested in joining. This solid offer sounds absolutely perfect to Hanju. It is a great way to make some easy startup cash with total freedom and no fees. Plus, with some luck, he might run straight into the powerful Guardians. Without hesitation, Hanju accepts the job. Rudd hands him a mercenary insignia. With this token, his old mercenary buddy will take him in instantly. The seasoned hunter says his farewells, wishing him the best of luck. Hanju smiles, knowing that conquering the witches was just the beginning. Defeating the witches was just the start. Maybe a happy ending is possible. It felt so far out of reach. Hanju's main goal was to find the game's true ending. He only agreed to help Aquila because she promised to give him clues about that finale. On top of that, Hanju actually loved the thrill of constant danger. He believed that not knowing when he might die was the true thrill of this game. He wanted to enjoy that tension, making him eager to find Aquila again. He wanted that final ending. Meanwhile, Aquila was watching his progress from afar. She found his dangerous journey highly amusing. It seemed her choice of VIP was perfect. Selecting Hanju as her VIP was proving to be an excellent decision. Suddenly, another woman approached. She pointed out that Hanju was definitely not an ordinary human. Aquila playfully teased her colleague, asking if she was actually falling for him. Valera proudly stated she was a goddess, with no reason to view a mortal that way. She was just protecting him. Aquila laughed, not seeing the big deal since Hanju was cute. She also teased that Valera had been acting far too serious lately. She missed the days when her friend was fun. Valera just scoffed in response. That was ancient history. Switching topics, she asked if Aquila really paid off Hanju's massive debt. Aquila casually confirmed she did. Valera immediately pressed further, wondering why she did that. Why not tell Hanju? He still thinks he is fighting just to clear that debt. Aquila smiled, admitting it was just more fun watching him struggle with such passion. Valera muttered that Aquila was truly wicked. She then asked what Hanju really was to her. Was he a piece in some grand scheme, or just a plaything? Aquila replied that Hanju was different. To her, he was a rising star, one she wanted to keep a very close eye on. Meanwhile, back on the ground, our tired hero decided to rest his aching legs. This forest was absolutely brutal. He felt completely drained. He dreamed of sleeping for 12 hours straight, but he could not stop just yet. He had to keep going. The mercenary guild was right around the corner. He entered the Francois Tavern, greeted warmly by the waitresses working the floor. He mentioned he was looking for someone, and they quickly guided him to a table. Getting comfortable, Hanju realized this tavern was actually the perfect place to gather rumors. A classic local joint, lots of good food and strong drinks. Happy patrons talk freely. It was the perfect place for secrets. Besides, he thought the local waitresses were pretty cute. Capitalizing on the friendly service, Hanju asked if they knew anyone named Rebus Chaltz. The second he said that name, the entire vibe of the room completely died. One waitress quickly warned him never to speak that dangerous name aloud here. Another whispered that the man was incredibly dangerous, a complete monster. Her own boyfriend crossed paths with Rebus and returned wrapped like a mummy. The others, worse. Hanju wondered what kind of mess Rudd dragged him into. The worried waitress begged him to run away while he still had the chance. She warned that the terrifying man could show up at any moment. But trying to shield him only ended up pushing him into absolute danger. Rebus Chaltz immediately spotted him, noticing the distinct insignia of Rudd on his clothes. He called out, assuming Hanju was the famous warrior he had heard about. The timing was perfect, as he desperately needed a strong new traveling companion. Hanju immediately realized this was a massive trap, cursing Rudd for this mess. He had to survive a very tense conversation with Rebus Chaltz first. Hanjaiwu realized he was being marched straight into a brutal war between the Elector Prince and Pamut's army, but the clever young man quickly realized he was actually being smuggled as a slave into a foreign force. Instead of running, however, he saw an opportunity. After all, the Elector Prince was a powerful game guardian. Through him, Hanjaiwu knew he could easily gather crucial intel on other guardians. Just then, a loud trumpet blared. Reeves Schultz grinned, noting that the great prince had finally arrived as the cavalry rode past. Reeves commented that the kid would fit right working alongside them, but Hanjaiwu saw a reality very different from his expectations. Looking at the Elector Prince, he thought the man looked just like a villain, but the real shock came when he saw who accompanied the prince. Lady Valpurgis herself rode beside him. The prince turned to her, asking if anything was wrong since she seemed distracted. The lady replied there was nothing to worry about. Before they marched forward, Lady Valpurgis had been his battle companion in previous runs, and he deeply regretted never being able to protect her from danger. Every single run ended with her tragic demise. Reeves Schultz noticed his tense expression and asked if something was wrong. Hanjaiwu denied it, but in his mind he vowed to risk his life to secure a new ending where she survived. Regardless, sometime later, they finally reached the training grounds. Watching the recruits train, Hanjaiwu noticed how intense it Reeves explained they were choosing unit leaders through combat. And there was cash on the line, pride and gold, two motivators that definitely grabbed his attention, but he knew his main goal was simply to reach the Elector Prince, meaning keeping a low profile was his best move. Reeves, however, absolutely wanted him in the matches. Master Rudd wouldn't have sent him along if he lacked potential, so the commander turned to his men, asking who wanted to challenge the rookie. Right away, several eager mercenaries stepped forward, leaving Han Jaiwoo completely cornered with no option but to accept. If he had to fight, he could not afford to lose. Even if it meant revealing his real strength, his first opponent was Max. The man scoffed at Han Jaiwoo, mocking his slim build and boasting that one hit would put him down. Reeves shouted, asking if both fighters were ready. When they nodded, he signaled the start. Max instantly lunged at the rookie, but with one effortless deflection, he was completely disarmed. To everyone's utter shock, Han Jaiwoo won the duel in a single strike, leaving the onlookers completely speechless. Max was supposed to be one of their best men. But to his surprise, this display did not scare them. It only made the mercenaries more eager to challenge him. Han Jaiwoo definitely wanted no part of this. But practically every single warrior in the camp lined up to fight, so he had to defeat them one by one, using the duels to boost his combat attributes. Then a massive fighter named Charlotte stepped forward. Unlike the rest, he confidently bragged that he would not lose to a newcomer. He approached the young warrior, mocking his build. Han Jaiwoo decided it was time to stop for today, but he quickly discovered a terrifying truth. The logout option was completely gone. He knew Aquila was behind this. All Hanju wanted was to rest for a few minutes before moving on, but that option was gone. With no choice left, he had to face his opponent. There was nowhere to run, he decided. To end it quickly, Hanju executed a clean judo throw, slamming his opponent and taking the massive giant down instantly, even after knocking Charlotte cold. Hanju still felt the guy was pretty heavy. Seeing Charlotte defeated impressed even the mercenary leader. The others grew incredibly curious about the newcomer's strength. They wanted to test him in a fight. Much to Hanju's utter dismay, Reeves stepped in, telling everyone to back away from the new guy. Hanju celebrated, thinking he'd finally get some rest. But get this, Reeves declared the recruit was their chosen one, naming him Valor, the new squad leader for the coming battle. Immediately, the mercenary band geared up for war with Hanju, leading them under the guild leaders. Direct command, a chaotic battlefield. Reeves orders his army to charge. Right away, the mercenaries charge their foes, but on the opposing side, an army of trolls glares back. Hanju wastes no time, leaping straight into the fray. Slashing relentlessly, he assumes he's now aligned with the Elector Princes forces. Reeves had explained this conflict was against Demon King Pism's Orc army. Their mission was pretty simple: steal the enemy commander's war banner. Once their forces cracked the enemy formation, they would exploit the gap, then collapse the enemy defensive lines. But Reeves had warned his men. Orcs are incredibly proud, strong, and highly coordinated. Reeves told Valor that his job was to lead the squad and halt the enemy's advance. Back on the battlefield, Hanju finds it ridiculous that he is leading a mercenary squad. After all, he had other plans: grab some quick military merit, then make a clean escape. A short while later, an orc rushes to his captain, reporting that their spearmen are being butchered. The captain refuses to believe it, insisting his troops are elite warriors. He grabs a spyglass to see for himself, but as he surveys the field, he is absolutely shocked by Hanju's charging squad. Talk about a brutal surprise. The captain orders his troops to line up and ready their muskets. Then they open fire on the humans. Hanju notes that using muskets isn't a very smart strategy. They take forever to reload and require constant line rotations. The second the enemy switches their firing line, Hanju yells out, "Now is our time to strike." He He charges, trampling right over the enemy. One orc cannot believe his men are being slaughtered by such a puny human. Regardless, he knows he has to stop this advance. After all, he holds the flag of his tribe's proud history, the banner bearer. Stood absolutely no chance. In the end, the mercenaries take the victory. Hanju successfully secures the enemy banner for his squad. He knows he just has to hold out a bit longer to secure the military merit he wants. Suddenly, an ally runs up with a huge problem. Their main army is actually retreating, not advancing. And to make things worse, orc reinforcements just arrived. Hanju panics. He thought victory was right in his grasp and cannot understand why the others fled. One of his men asks what to do now, with their entire group completely surrounded. They are lost. On the orc side, their hidden chief, the great General Kalin, steps forward. He orders the brave human warriors to surrender. He promises that if they stop fighting now and leave their flag behind, he will honor their incredible courage and spare their lives. Han Jae-woo snaps back that an orc's word means absolutely nothing to him. He will put their banner to good use instead. Furious, General Kalin roars, "How dare you? How dare you tarnish our sacred flag?" Han Jae-woo replies there are no rules in war. To win this, he and his soldiers are ready to do whatever it takes. That provocation works perfectly. The orcs immediately fall into battle formation. General Kalin commands his troops to fire. The human soldiers are suddenly at a massive disadvantage. Trapped under heavy fire, the protagonist's game system flashes a critical warning. His intimidation skill completely failed, but Han Jae-woo has no idea why. That trick always worked in his previous games. Now they are stuck under heavy fire. His troops are quickly losing all faith in winning. The enemy is led by a legendary general. They don't believe they can survive a clash with someone as strong as General Kalin. Even Han Jae-woo feels completely lost. Then, a sudden realization hits him. He remembers past battles. If he dies in this world, it is permanent game over in real life. Han Jae-woo is utterly paralyzed with shock. This is a terrifying reality. His panicked men beg him for an order, knowing they will all perish without one. Instead, he starts laughing, making his men believe he has gone completely mad. But Han Jae-woo ignores their panic and demands the Countess's trumpet. An ally points out that no reinforcements are coming, trumpet or not. Yet Han Jae-woo insists that he knows exactly what he is doing. He blows the heavy horn with all his might, but in the wrong direction. Han Jae-woo replies that he is fully aware of the mistake. He orders his men to keep blocking the enemy shots while he waits. If Aquila has any honor left, she won't abandon a valuable VIP like him. On the opposing side, General Kalin orders his lethal spearmen to advance. Suddenly, an elite orc warrior charges, aiming his spear straight at Han Jae-woo. But before the beast can strike, he is blasted back by a newcomer. Valpurgis finally arrives, riding a unicorn after hearing his desperate call. She rallies the human forces, motivating them to keep fighting. She commands every soldier not to dare lower their swords just yet. General Kalin orders his own forces to stand down and not interfere. Recognizing the Countess of Nittern, he declares this is now an honorable duel. Valpurgis tells the general he is honorable but utterly unworthy, launching her attack. A fierce clash of steel erupts between the two powerful warriors. Han Jae-woo watches, mesmerized. She is incredibly strong, even at this early stage. Her strength at this point in the game is absolutely mind-blowing. Back in the duel, the proud orc general is visibly struggling. Valpurgis unleashes relentless blows, but Kalin is incredibly resilient and blocks them. Her opponent notes she possesses far more than excellent sword skills. He even praises her incredible hand-to-hand combat skills. He asks if she is Valurga's sister, which would explain her elite military rank. Valpurgis proudly declares she serves God with all her heart. She hates wasting time. Valpurgis lunges forward, attacking her opponent once more. The orc general is loving this battle, swinging his weapon with wild fury to crush her. But She is way too fast for him. Valpurgis easily slips past his massive strike and delivers a sharp counter. Grimacing, the orc general admits it was a good fight. He crashes down, done, realizing they lost his men. Scramble to retreat, dragging their beaten captain away, watching them go. Our protagonist Han Jae-woo is stunned. A single blow took down that terrifying beast. This has to be the real, legendary strength of Lady Valpurgis herself. She walks right up to him, asking if he is the mercenary leader. She mentions she felt his bravery from across the field, then formally introduces herself. He greets her warmly, introducing himself by his alias Valorstead Valor. He admits that without her timely arrival, they would all be dead men. Internally, he reminds himself he is not playing his high-tier Steel Elector character anymore. Must be careful. Just then, his mercenary squad walks up. Excitedly presenting him with a gift, they hand the enemy war banner to Valorstead Valor. After all, he is their true commander. This instantly boosts his reputation among the men. Shaken, Han Jae-woo looks back at the brutal clash they just barely survived, knowing how close he came to death. He cheers victory, raising the banner. He claims it as his. Later, back at Francois Tavern, a little girl walks in searching for Charlotte. Han Jae-woo is totally charmed by her. Noticing his bandages, she asks if he got into another fight. Curious, he asks if this is the daughter of Charlotte, but another mercenary quickly speaks up, clarifying that she is actually the 15-year-old sister of Charlotte Baptiste. She scolds our hero, blaming him because Charlotte got hurt, and demands he pay for the doctor bill, but Charlotte smiles, saying that thanks to their captain, everyone made it back alive. The rest of the crew eagerly agrees, shouting that their leader saved them from becoming orc dinner. Han Jae-woo is totally embarrassed. He tells them to shut up and eat. Suddenly, Valpurgis steps into the tavern, instantly capturing every single gaze. Han Jae-woo is absolutely stunned. He definitely did not expect a high-ranking noble to visit this dusty tavern. Soon, she escorts him to the advanced military outpost of Harheim. She explains that the legendary Steel Elector requested his presence personally, wanting to grant him supreme military honors. She tells him this is a massive deal, an unbelievable achievement, as it is the greatest possible honor for a common mercenary. Han Jae-woo realizes Valpurgis is very different from his memories. She seems far more excited about this than he is. The Countess happily explains that many soldiers survived solely because of his efforts. Without his incredible courage, they would all be dead. Plus, those are valuable imperial citizens alive because of him. That is why she is so overjoyed. Her warm smile unlocks an old memory for him, a time when Valpurgis shielded him during a crisis. She hasn't changed, not one bit, only their current status is different. Right now, he is a lowly mercenary, while she is a high noble. Valpurgis then guides him to his majesty, introducing the hero to the steel. The Elector greets him, pleased to finally meet the famed warrior. He introduces himself simply as Philip. Han Jae bows, feeling his intense, legendary aura. Philip notes that the young warrior has become known by a fearsome title. They call him the Death of the Field, praising his fierce, lion-like courage. Since such bravery demands a massive reward, the ruler is ready to pay up. He promises 100 florences to be split among Han Jae's companions. And for Han Jae himself, 300 florences. Han Jae promises to repay this. He promises to repay this immense generosity, but admits he has a quick request. He wants to regroup with his allies and rest up in distant Weitenbayr. Even though it is far, Philip gladly agrees, giving him a vacant shed too. He can use it however he likes. Then, Philip asks if he requires anything else. Normally, Han Jae would decline, but this unexpected situation gives him an opening. He glances over at Valpurgis, and a bold strategy suddenly flashes in his mind. He asks if he can pose a personal question, and Philip tells him to speak freely. Han Jae asks what the Steel Elector truly thinks about this ongoing war. Philip pauses to consider the heavy question, and a tense silence fills the room. Just as Hanju expected, everyone is totally confused, talk about awkward silence. Philip simply throws the question back, asking for Hanju's own thoughts. Hanju admits his vision is limited, but one major thing caught his attention. Right then, an annoyed noble asks if he really thinks he is qualified. He has only earned one military merit, yet he dares give war advice. Another noble sneers, claiming the mercenary is just repeating baseless rumors. He is worrying over nothing, but hearing this, Valpurgis steps forward. She speaks up for Hanju, saying they should not judge by appearances. She urges His Majesty to listen to what the young mercenary has to say. Philip's uncle calls her audacious for speaking to the ruler in that manner. But Philip reminds him she is the niece of the powerful Elector of Bayern. He demands more respect for the Countess. This is exactly what Hanju expected. Even the mighty Steel Elector cannot easily ignore someone of her high status. Philip asks what his vision of the war is, and Hanju delivers. He warns that an ambush is coming. Philip demands to know how he can prove it. Hanju explains that Demon King Pismut always relies on surprise attacks. Look at the 10-year war with the Toe Kingdom and the Anak conflict. In both of those historical struggles, Philip's brilliant tactics proved entirely decisive. Because of this, absolute caution is vital. Watching out for betrayal is never a waste. Philip frowns, deeply unsettled. He asks if the mercenary is suggesting there is a traitor among them. Hanju replies that he is merely raising the possibility to be safe. It never hurts to watch your back. Philip agrees, but his expression darkens. He warns the bold mercenary that his head remains attached purely by mercy. He cold-bloodedly orders him to remember his proper place in this court. Valpurgis tries to step in and defend him from the ruler's wrath. But Hanju wisely backs down, apologizing and asking permission to leave. As he departs the Grand Hall, Hanju reflects on the tense encounter. The Steel Elector used to be careful, but arrogance has blinded him this time. Why Philip is so arrogant is a mystery to Hanju, but one thing is absolutely certain. Something is terribly off in this timeline. First, the rare red dragon fruits, which usually mature much later, have ripened early. Even worse, Valpurgis, who was supposed to show up far down the line, has already arrived. He realizes that his past knowledge is now completely useless. Interrupting his deep thoughts, Valpurgis calls out, breathless after running to catch up. She gasps that he walks incredibly fast. Hanju asks if she ran after him in worry. She admits she did, quickly apologizing for Philip's rude behavior and offering her support. Receiving such direct warmth from the Countess makes Hanju feel a bit flustered. His mind spins, thinking about her promise to do anything for him, letting his wild imagination run free, but deep down, he knows it's a fantasy, so he asks for something much simpler, a quill and a pistol. Valpurgis is surprised. "Is that really all you want?" she asks. "I rarely offer such favors to anyone." Hanju explains his dream of becoming a knight, planning to use these tools to practice riding. Hearing this, Valpurgis declares she has never seen anyone quite like him before. She suggests this busy courtyard isn't the right place to discuss his training, offering to take him somewhere much more quiet and private. Lady Valpurgis, acting so bright and warm, makes Hanju light up inside. Sometime later, on the war-torn slopes of Harheim Peak, the Elector of Steel's mighty army stands face to face with Daemon King Pesmut's forces. Philip fiercely declares this will be the day he slays him, but Pesmut only scoffs. At the hollow threat, a demon general steps forward, reporting that war preparations are finally complete. He also warns that relying on that chaotic woman is a massive gamble, but the Dark Lord completely brushes his allies' cautious warning aside. The general argues she is too bloodthirsty, and capturing the Elector alive would secure a priceless hostage, making her chaotic nature a liability. Pesmut calmly replies that he understands the risks and has taken strict precautions. Right on cue, the terrifying woman herself steps forward to greet her master. He praises her efficiency but asks her to hold back slightly. She calmly replies that she understands her boundaries perfectly, though the demon lord remains highly skeptical. She firmly insists she has never crossed the line during any of her missions. Pesmut admits that is true, though he dreads what might actually happen if she ever did lose control. Meanwhile, Hanju is busy training hard. He rides his new steed, Philly, an incredibly fast and powerful mount. As a purebred dueling horse, Philly is perfect for the Byron household. To make things better, she also gifted him an insanely valuable recovery potion. It can completely restore anyone who drinks it. Then, a sudden explosion shatters the quiet, startling him. The battle has already kicked off. He realizes he must rush to the front lines before it's too late. There's a high risk that Elector Philip will be stabbed in the back. Since Philip ignored every warning, he's about to face a brutal reality check. His own uncle is a traitor, conspiring directly with the enemy forces. The treacherous uncle sneers, claiming it is Philip who is the traitor, accusing his nephew of turning the local rebel factions against the emperor. The rebels openly fighting the emperor. The moment he saw this, he decided to strike first. He allied with Pexem, proving the Steel Elector is the real traitor. After explaining this, the old man asks his nephew if he understands. Philip just scoffs. No one would ever believe such a ridiculous lie, but the demon lord instantly slams Philip into the dirt, warning him to drop the attitude. He calls him a fool for refusing to face reality, then orders his servants to capture his nephew. Terrified, Philip screams that he is a noble and demands that nobody dare lay a hand on him. As guards close in, Valpurgis slips in silently before making a grand entrance, hitting the demon lord with a brutal kick. She is not alone, ordering her troops to drag His Majesty to safety. The enemy is furious to see his hostage slip away. He immediately orders Hexax to pursue Philip. She was busy playing with other prey, but now she must start her real job. Hexax grins and tells her zombie hounds that it is dinner time. Since they are already starving, she barely has to motivate them. Moments later, the beasts charge out, and Hanji Wu finds himself standing directly in their path. He figured the enemy would deploy these vile undead beasts. He knows Hexax uses them to drain her targets of their power, slowly eating away at them piece by piece. Hanji Wu finds the tactic incredibly cheap, but he knows her playstyle. Seeing only a few beasts here, he realizes the rest of the pack must be hunting Philip. Our hero does not care about that arrogant noble. His only real concern is Valpurgis. To save her, he sprints directly into the chaos. Not far from there, Philip and Valpurgis are running for their lives. Philip keeps whining that his mana is totally messed up, blaming the enemy. Only a powerful demon lord could pull off a cheap trick like this. Suddenly, a beast leaps, almost taking Philip down, but Valpurgis intercepts the monster just in time. Her swift reflexes save the day once again. Deeply worried for His Majesty, she warns him that they are in enemy territory, meaning they must move with absolute caution. Suddenly, one of Philip's royal guards is hit, begging his lord for help, yet Philip does absolutely nothing to help him. Valpurgis tries to step in, but Philip quickly cuts her off, ordering her to leave the weakling behind and keep moving. Disgusted, Valpurgis snaps that her own life is not worth more than their soldiers. Besides, she strongly believes a true leader's real duty is to protect their people, not leave them to die. If only Philip had listened to Valor, they wouldn't be in this mess. She blames her own helplessness as in a split second, Valpurgis is suddenly snatched away. Hexax laughs, mockingly pointing out how pathetic they are. The Countess even screams for her lord's aid. Yet, seeing his most loyal guard dragged away, Philip chooses to run instead of trying to save her. He leaves Valpurgis behind like she is nothing. Can you believe this guy? Gasping in shock, she realizes she was completely fooled. A coward like Philip never deserved The title of Elector. Meanwhile, Hexax keeps up her brutal assault, grinning. As she watches her victim suffer, suddenly a loud gunshot echoes, her hound drops, seizing the perfect opening. Hanji Wu strikes with a devastating. A heavy punch lands on Hexax. Valpurgis, seeing her savior the mercenary Valor appear, is shocked. She never expected him here, yet she can't help but rejoice at his timely arrival. Calling him her hero, she faints and collapses to the ground. Hanji Wu quickly catches her. He carries Valpurgis to a safe spot, knowing he has to clear the threat first. She can only escape once this demon servant is dead. Meanwhile, Hexax sizes him up. This guy killed her hound and sneaked up without her even noticing. Clearly, she realizes this is no ordinary warrior. Hanji Wu speaks up. He tells Hexax, "You haven't changed a bit." Confused, she asks where they met. He simply replies that he would never forget her villainous face. Hexax looks at his weapon. Pretty cool, she notes, with good range, but he better aim straight or her whip gets him. Hanji Wu wastes no time and fires, but the shot only tears through her cape. Hexax quickly counters, lashing out with her whip to ensnare him. She hooks the whip right around Hanji Wu's neck, pinning him completely in place. Yanking him close, she delivers a brutal headbutt that sends him flying backward. Thrilled, Hexax screams that it's not over yet, but her next strike completely misses. After dodging her whip, Hanji Wu tries to strike back from a distance. But the enemy spots his strategy instantly and moves to shut down his shooting. Yet every single whip strike misses. She cannot believe what she is seeing. No one has ever evaded her like this before. This is highly abnormal. She prides herself on her whip mastery, believing her strikes to be entirely undodgeable. Hanji Wu prepares to shoot, but Hexax vows she won't give him an opening. Yet again, he completely catches her off guard, instead of pulling the trigger. He closes the distance and stabs her with a hidden dagger. Hanji Wu asks with a smirk, "How do you like my dagger, Hexax?" Hexax screams as she realizes focusing solely on his gun just cost her an eye. Needing to recover, she unfurls her demonic wings and declares she'd love to stay. But she's going to have to postpone this little match for another time. Hanji Wu laughs and taunts her, "Running away already, are we afraid to lose?" Hexax scoffs, claiming she won't fall for cheap bait. Close quarters combat isn't her strength. But Hanji Wu quickly points out, he has a ranged weapon too. He can easily hunt her down from a distance. The demon servant laughs it off. She boasts that dodging bullets is easy, but as she tries to focus, she falters. Her depth perception is completely shot. That missing eye ruined her sense of distance. Hanji Wu fires a clean, fatal shot. "To kill a giant bat," he remarks. "The most efficient way is a direct shot." He smirks as she goes down. Hexax is finally suffering. He wonders what kind of loot she'll drop. In absolute desperation, Hexax tries to seduce him to save her own skin. But she clearly underestimated his ice-cold heart. Seduction isn't going to work on him. Her desperate charm attempt falls completely flat. The items she drops are pretty sweet. He pockets the rare loot with a satisfied grin, but there's no time to celebrate. He grabs a high-grade healing potion and rushes straight back to his dying friend. Only a powerful remedy like this can save her from the brink of death. Hanji Wu carefully reads the potion's instructions before applying it. He realizes the medicine must be rubbed directly onto her skin. But to do that, he'll have to remove Valpurgis' armor first. That he is only doing this to help her and nothing more. He concentrates, determined not to make mistakes. Just then, Hanju has a vivid memory of his past, remembering how his father died of illness when he was young, and his mother collapsed from overwork. Because of this, Hanju lived alone by the time he was 18. At 22, he worked collecting debts in Hanam-dong. Though he tried to act tough, he often went easy on people who owed money. Then, he met a client who made a living playing video games. This guy claimed that by completing just one major mission, he would earn enough to clear his entire debt. Curious, Hanju asked more about this game. The young man told him all about The incredible universe, even mentioning the stunning characters who were better than real-life women. He explained it was an RPG. Like any other, but it stood out because it had thousands of active players worldwide. And actually paid players for hard missions. Hanju found it extremely hard to believe anyone could earn money just by playing video games, so the guy invited him to try it out. Hanju initially said he was too busy. But then a canceled appointment text popped up suddenly, freeing up his schedule. Soon after that, he logged into the game for the very first. Slipping into the capsule for the first time, he was completely blown away by the realistic technology. The people on the street seemed so incredibly real, making him question if he was even inside a game. He noticed a street vendor who looked incredibly lifelike, so he decided to touch the virtual character's face just to see how real it actually was, but the vendor immediately reprimanded him, snaps that he only serves people who have money for fruit. Right then, Hanju encountered the game system for the first time, alerting him to his current balance of only 10 florins. He figured he should find something else to do. Just then, a little boy begs for an apple, but his mother cannot afford it. Hanju asks the vendor the price, which is 1 florin. He buys the apple and hands it over, and the child's grateful mother immediately thanked him, saying he did not need to spend coins on her son. This small interaction helps our main character realize that 1 florin is worth a whole day's meal. He bids them goodbye, a warm moment that triggers a deep, nostalgic memory from his childhood, walking with his own mother, always staring at the roasted chicken near their home. Gradually, Hanju became totally enchanted with this virtual world, and after that day, he absolutely never stopped playing. When real life got too brutal, he used the game as a retreat, spending more and more hours inside, leaving his actual life behind. There, he could unleash all the heavy stress of his daily grind onto the enemies he faced inside the game. Back in the real world, he just woke up and worked, but in the virtual world, he truly lived. He spent the last 5 years playing. That's when things got interesting, as he was approached in-game and met Duchess Valpurgis for the first time. She claimed she had heard of his incredible skills and invited him to hunt wild boars. He mentioned he was actually hunting for meat, so her sudden offer was perfect. It does not take long for our protagonist to take down the beast. While Valpurgis admired his skills, he was surprised that she had not done anything. Valpurgis simply stated he was so incredibly strong that she did not even need to interfere. Before asking him to form a duo, Hanju asked if it was basically a contract, forcing him to work for Valpurgis all day long. She declined and asked if he trusted her, but Han Jae-woo admitted he did not. He did not trust anyone, which amused her, so she decided to recommend him. She wanted him to become an imperial knight, and that soon became a reality. Even knowing his massive potential, Valpurgis was shocked by his rapid growth. He rose so quickly, eventually earning the title of the Elector of Steel. Han Jae-woo admitted he could never have reached this peak without her help. But Valpurgis pointed out that he was the one who saved all those people, and bringing peace to the land earned him the absolute loyalty of the public. More importantly, he also won the undying loyalty of Valpurgis herself. She always deeply admired him, and even today, those feelings remain unchanged. Though their current reality is different, she still feels a special bond. She admits that despite how young he is, his dedication is unmatched. Curious, she asks him what exactly keeps him going like this. Han Jae-woo replies that he simply loves this world and everything in it. Even with his face totally bruised, Valpurgis kind of gets his point. Still, she complains that he did not have to strip off her armor. He defends himself, but Valpurgis quickly shifts the topic to their next move. They must head to the Valpurgis convent soon to show everyone they survived. She promises to repay his incredible kindness as soon as they get back. Since he saved her life, she feels deeply indebted to him beyond simple words. Bruised and beaten, Han Jae-woo secretly cannot wait for his reward. Valparus mentions that the entire convent will likely reward him too. But Han Jae-woo quickly replies that her personal reward interests him far more. Soon they arrive at the Valparus convent, and she introduces him to Angela. But the strict nun refuses entry, claiming the convent is currently in total isolation. Therefore, Han Jae-woo is barred from entering. Waiting in a nearby tavern, Han Jae-woo ponders his next move. He is planning to ask the convent for the angel's heart. It is an ancient, S-rank holy artifact passed down for hundreds of years. Blessed by the goddess, it has the legendary power to restore souls. Essentially, anyone holding this divine item gets a second chance at life. Han Jae-woo desperately wants it, as it would be insanely useful. As he plots, Valparus suddenly appears inside his room. She apologizes for the intrusion, but blinks in shock at his position. Han Jae-woo is hanging upside down, claiming it helps him think. Valparus then admits she has a highly confidential secret to share. First, she makes Han Jae-woo promise to keep it strictly confidential. Once she is sure of his trust, she drops a major bombshell. The convent's high abbess is apparently dead, leaving Han Jae-woo utterly confused. He just spoke with Angela, but Valparus clarifies the leader is Margareta. She strongly suspects a traitor is currently operating within their ranks. Likely a plot by Pasmut, but the real shocker is something else. Margareta is actually still alive, a wild possibility he never even considered. She was a legendary, completely unparalleled figure in the guardianship of humanity, capable of taking down even a low-ranked demon king, an absolute icon of strength who single-handedly turned the Valparus convent into a legendary military force. Hearing this, Hanju jumped to his feet, declaring he had to go save her. Startled, Valpargus asked what was wrong. Hanju insisted they must find the High Abbess. Valpargus, claiming to know darkness better than anyone, agreed to join him. A short while later in the convent office, Angela listened to the plan Valpargus vouched for. Hanju begging Angela to trust him just this once. Still, Angela did not seem to like the idea at all. Hanju quickly realized Valpargus had told the abbess everything about him, explaining her clear hesitation. Suddenly, Angela stepped right up, giving them both a shock. She declared a traitor was among them, so trusting a complete stranger was foolish, she asserted. This outsider had no right to be here, ordering Valpargus to escort him out. Hanju quickly defended himself, expressing deep concern for the High Abbess. But Angela coldly told him that this was none of his business whatsoever. Undeterred, Hanju dropped a bombshell. He had read the Gospel of 7 Demons. Angela stood completely frozen, unable to comprehend how that was even possible, as it was a holy book written by Saint Anthony himself, Hanju explained. The pages detailed everything about the 7 sealed demons who were banished from this world, including death, one of the most violent dark forces. Angela warned that simply speaking those names out loud increased the chances of something horrific happening, making the subject too dangerous to talk about. Even so, Hanju begged her to trust him, claiming he knew exactly how to drive back the darkness, left with no choice. Angela agreed on one condition: Hanju had to keep everything a secret. If she found out he spoke a single word of this, she swore to send him straight to hell and back. Soon after, Hanju was led to a hidden room where an incredibly foul stench hit him instantly. He recognized the smell from Angela's desk, but here it was 10 times worse. Hanju had never seen Margarita's face before, but get this, the rumors say she leg presses a whole ton on each side. Valpargus, noticing his anxiety, offered some comfort. Hanju then asked if she also wanted to build a muscular body like the other nuns. Valpargus admitted she did, but her uncle disapproved of it, forcing her to hold back in her training. Arriving at the door, Angela warned that the demonic power inside was suffocating, capable of shattering their sanity. She ordered them to wait outside, and as she unlocked the door, Hanju felt a massive wave of dark pressure blast out. At them, Valpurgis claimed the goddess's holy blessing would protect her, but, worried for the young man, Hanju assured her he was fine since his system cheat granted him solid protection, letting him press forward. Angela announced that this was the High Abbess' private chamber. Walking in, Hanju was completely stunned. Honestly, who would have ever imagined Margarita looking like this? He immediately wondered how someone so small and delicate could lift multiple tons of raw weight. Angela sternly told him to take this situation seriously, explaining they had already tried everything they could for. In the end, they were forced to rely on a mercenary. Despite her dislike for the idea, she admitted the mercenary was their last hope. She even promised to pay any price he asked, as long as he saved the High Abbess. Han Yi-Wu agreed to help, but first he asked the nun to set him free. He warned them that Margarita was in critical condition, and as a saint, the corruption was consuming her twice as fast as an ordinary person. Black veins creeping up her neck proved it, but he insisted she could still be saved. Desperate for a solution, Angela asked him how they could possibly do it. The mercenary told her to stay calm, before revealing that the process was actually simple. All they needed to do was use the convent's divine relic on Margarita. Angela turned to the High Abbess, asking if he meant the legendary angel's heart. She knew that saving her would mean transferring the dark curse to someone else. Usually, this dark curse would have to be transferred to another living vessel. Since holy energy and dark curses clash, the High Abbess would die during transfer. That is exactly why they need the power of the angel's heart. The protagonist confirms her fears. The curse is fatal to any cleric. Because of that, no priest or nun from the convent could perform the ritual. That's why they need an outsider like him, but Angela protests the entire plan. The High Abbess herself insisted that this darkness was her burden alone to bear. When Han Yi-Wu offers to absorb the curse himself, Angela immediately objects. She warns him that they are dealing with a completely unpredictable dark magic. No one can guarantee he would even survive. Even if he does, he would have to live with the curse forever. Valpurgis agrees with her, saying there is no reason for him to throw his life away. She insists he shouldn't sacrifice himself for the sake of their High Abbess. Han Yi-Wu thanks them for caring, but insists this is their only option. He has read the Gospel of the Seven Demons and understands this dark power well. As a non-cleric, his soul is completely immune to this specific holy clashing. He tells Angela to stop worrying about him and focus on her leader. Angela finally gives in, though she fears the High Abbess will scold her later. Even so, she reluctantly hands the angel's heart over to him. As the mercenary holds the relic, he considers keeping it for himself. He almost saves it, but hey, you can't pass up an opportunity this perfect. Valpurgis tries one last time to stop him, but Angela holds her back. She reassures her that Han Yi-Wu knows exactly what he is doing. With everything set, the protagonist prepares to initiate the ritual. He places his hand over Margarita, chanting the ancient incantation. Moments later, the heavy weight of the curse begins to take hold. Even Angela and Valpurgis feel the sudden chill of evil surrounding them. Suddenly, Han Yi-Wu is pulled straight into another dimension. He looks around the endless pitch-black void, searching for the source of this malice. From the darkness, a booming voice demands to know who dares disturb it. Unfazed, the protagonist introduces himself as Valorstead Valor, here to free Margarita. The voice scoffs, declaring that a mere mortal could never hope to achieve that. It mocks him, calling him a fool for daring to challenge such overwhelming power. The dark entity commands Hanju to vanish, but to its utter shock, it fails to rip out Hanju's soul and has no idea why. Meanwhile, Hanju demands the beast release Margarita immediately and take his own body instead. But the ancient horror sneers, refusing to take orders from a lowly human. Besides, it devours souls rather than freeing them. Hanju realizes the beast is playing dirty, so he decides to fight fire with fire. He boldly claims he has read the legendary Gospel of the Seven Demons. He even traded his dog for the manual with the Death Smasher itself, who is probably selling cheap knockoffs to every sage around. Because of this, Hanju warns that if the fiend keeps wasting time, its deepest, most embarrassing secrets will go public. Bluff works beautifully. The entity agrees to the trade, but demands one dark condition. Instantly, a massive quest notification pops up. Hanju's system, he must slay all demon kings backed by destructive death, but he knows this is way too dangerous, so he tries to negotiate a better deal with the ancient horror, whining that he is far too weak for this. Rather than arguing, the shadow beast decides to forcefully inject a fraction of its power, giving Hanju a lethal boost. Terrified, the young man thinks he's about to explode. This is definitely not what they agreed to, but the beast reminds him that absolute power demands an equally brutal price. Nothing comes for free. Agony rips through Hanju's body as the dark energy completely rewires him. And even with this massive upgrade, his heart stops, but days later, back at the Valpurgis convent, he gasps awake in bed, completely shocked to be breathing. He immediately checks his cheat code artifact, realizing that very item granted him this miraculous second chance. Giddy with relief, Hanju celebrates his survival. With these insane powers, he is destined to become the ultimate king of the undead. Even better, he is the only player in the entire world with this class. It will only take a matter of time before he dominates the global leaderboards. At last, he will get all the fame and respect he deserves. But right during his victory dance, Sister Valpurgis bursts into the room crying. She heard his loud shouting and is completely shocked to see him alive. Valpurgis explains that he collapsed right after the ritual, so she carried him here. She even put him in her own bed, begging him never to pull such a terrifying stunt again because she was worried sick. Hanju gently grabs his friend's hand and softly apologizes for the scare, promising to play it safe. Relieved, she accepts his apology, but their tender moment is suddenly cut short. Loud, chaotic noises echo from outside, prompting a worried Hanju to check it out. Angela greets him, relieved he is finally awake, but warns that somebody else is up as well. That is when Hanju spots the one causing the massive commotion. It is Margareta, stretching and complaining that she has slept way too long. She needs to stretch her limbs, but is thrilled to finally meet her savior. Smiling, she formally introduces herself as Margareta, the supreme leader of this very convent. She tells him her full name but says he can just call her Mari. With introductions over, they head down to the basement. Hanju figures Philip must have escaped that dense forest by now. Having unlocked the absolute peak necromancer rank of cold blood, Hanju now has. Hanju secretly planned Philip's death, but without the angel's heart, success was highly unlikely. He was a guardian, after all. Hanju could not let his guard down yet. Not even for a second. Meanwhile, Margareta was completely thrilled for their new adventure. Seeing her crazy level of excitement, Angela quickly told her to behave properly. But the High Abbess just snapped back, calling Angela old and cranky. Even Hanju found Margareta's highly exaggerated behavior a bit strange. But Valpurgis calmly assured him that she was always like this. Hanju expected more. She was, after all, the convent's strongest military force. Such high rank demanded dignity. Spotting them chatting, Margareta immediately jumped in. She teased that they seemed pretty close, before pointing toward the massive door. Behind that door lay Valpurgis' vast, hidden underground armory. It was packed with powerful gear, much of it carrying ancient magical properties. A skilled mercenary like him would easily put those weapons to good use. Hanju warmly thanked her, but Margareta immediately demanded something in return. She told him he could easily repay her by taking her out on a date. Angela was absolutely furious, even as Margareta laughed off the harmless joke. Opening the heavy door, Hanju confidently prepared to crush Philip. A bit later, Hanju headed down to the stables to prep his horse. Fully geared up, he could not wait to face Philip in battle. But just as he was about to leave, Valparus suddenly appeared. She asked if he was leaving without a goodbye, inviting him along. As they rode together, Valparus admitted that even though they recently met, she felt as if she had already known him for an entire eternity. He had fought beside her, saving her life during Hexax's deadly ambush. And not to mention rescuing the High Abbess, she felt deeply grateful. After a brief pause, she asked if he had any lingering questions. Hanju feigned complete ignorance, asking what she could possibly mean by that. Valparus scoffed, telling him not to play coy about his secret curiosity. She knew he wanted to see her face, Hanju quietly admitted. That because she always wore her helmet, he assumed there was a reason. So he never asked. Valparus then revealed that beneath lay a massive scar. The mark of a dark curse. She did not even know its origin. Only that her uncle warned her to never let anyone see it. He forced her to hide it. She sighed, remembering the cruel insults. People called her the ugly knight, totally ignorant of her tragic story. But she declared that, while she showed her face to absolutely nobody, she would make an exception for him. She was incredibly nervous. And finally, the moment of truth arrived as she pulled off her helmet. Valparus shyly asked him what he thought of her actual face. She begged him to say something. Hanju stood there, completely stunned. He quickly apologized, blurting out that she was incredibly beautiful. Even the legendary countess had never shown her face like this before. Valparus smiled and told him she had a special gift to offer. She handed him the Byron family treasure passed down by her uncle. Hanju was shocked, asking why she was giving him something so valuable. She explains that this is a special token. Keep it, and I will always be with you. Hanju is pretty flattered by the gift, realizing Valparus wants him too. Always remember her. I will take good care of this treasure, he promises. That is it. Promise, his friend says with a warm smile. With that, Hanju says goodbye. Explaining he needs to head out now. You can go first if you want, he offers. Valparus returns the courtesy, telling him to go ahead instead. The two stand there for a moment, playfully insisting back and forth, before finally bidding their definitive farewell. Quite a bit later, Hanju reflects on everything that just happened. He muses that a romance route with her wouldn't be so bad after all. But his thoughts are interrupted. A horrible stench hits him. He suddenly realizes he is standing right before several fallen warriors. Judging by the scene, he deduces that Philip and Pizimut fought right here. Hanju knows he is on the right track. He casts a spell to perform a complete area scan and uncovers something pretty wild. Look at this. With a massive surge of power, he activates his necromancer skill, forcing all those fallen bodies to rise and become his loyal servants. Your first mission, Hanju commands, is to search the surrounding area for any traces of Prince Philip. He then points to a female servant. And you, he says, have a special task. Bring me all the scattered military uniforms. They will be pretty useful later. Meanwhile, in a nearby town, Prince Philip hides out with his soldiers, still fuming over his uncle's betrayal. Desperate for revenge, he suddenly grabs some of the army food. Even though his soldier warns him it is only for emergencies, the prince doesn't care. His incredibly selfish instincts make him think only of himself. Suddenly, right in the middle of his meal, a man appears claiming he's been searching everywhere for him. Hanju introduces himself as the mercenary Valorstead Valor. Do you remember me, Prince? He asks. Philip recognizes him immediately, even as his soldier frantically urges caution, warning that they are in a highly dangerous situation. Annoyed at the constant interruption, the prince violently strikes his own soldier down. He claims this hired mercenary has come to rescue him after all. Worms like you are not as useful as Valorstead, Philip sneers, and now that I have this war hero by my side, I do not need any of you. You are dismissed, Philip commands, and he runs toward Hanju, practically begging to be saved. Our hero says he is pretty happy to have found his majesty after combing through the entire forest. The prince weeps with joy, promising to reward the mercenary handsomely once. They return, but Hanju simply replies that it will not be necessary. His undead army instantly attacks Philip's soldiers. Philip is totally baffled. I am not here for rewards. Hanju declares with a chilling voice, I am here to settle a score. With you, Prince, Philip is caught completely by surprise, furiously shouting that a cub doesn't know how to fear a tiger and that he'd raised a mongrel all. This entire time, Hanju not only accepts the provocation, but even mimics a dog to mock him. Infuriated, Philip draws his shining moonlight blade slashing wildly at the undead. Hanju knew the prince wouldn't go down without some fight, but he knows that the more magic Philip wastes, the less mana he'll have left, so he easily orders his undead to retreat while Philip boasts. Wiping out those lackeys was easy enough, but Hanji Wu warns the prince that this battle will be on a completely different level. He has something special saved just for him. They clash instantly. Philip's eyes burn with absolute rage, blinded by the sudden betrayal. Meanwhile, Hanji Wu faces the very opponent he meticulously prepared for. He immediately recognizes the style. This is the legendary electoral sword. Going against the sword style he once admired is a pretty painful experience. It looks incredibly elegant, but beneath that retro flair lies a deadly counterattack. Only the warrior holding the title of Steel Elector can wield this blade. Philip snaps, do you honestly think you can betray me in live? But Hanji Wu is completely unbothered by the threat. He calmly responds that he is actually on pretty good terms with the powerful Order of Nuns. The prince cannot believe a mere mercenary has such massive connections. But he quickly boasts that he has zero fear of those religious zealots. With a roar, Philip lunges forward. Hanji Wu blocks him effortlessly. This easy defense only drives the prince deeper into a blind rage. Suddenly, his old internal injuries from the vampire demon flare up. Hanji Wu looks down, telling him his melodrama ends now. Then Hanji Wu unleashes a devastating kick straight to his chest. Talk about a massive reality check. The prince goes flying backward. Philip coughs up blood. Hanji Wu warns him who to truly fear. Not the nuns. The prince stammers that his body is simply weakened. From his previous battle, he begs, reminding Hanji Wu of past rewards. Why try to kill me now? But Hanji Wu just scoffs at him. The prince is way dumber than expected, since he still does not get it. Hanji Wu will explain. First, he ignored the betrayal warning. Second, Philip heartlessly discarded his most loyal servant, Valpurgis, even after her faithful service. And third, he selfishly let others die. He let countless innocents perish just to save his own skin. For this, Hanji Wu declares Philip is completely unfit to be elector. Cornered and desperate, the prince claims he did it all for his beloved citizens, who will feed them if he dies right here. He argues his sudden absence will create a golden opportunity for the other ruthless electors to attack this kingdom the moment he falls. Once they learn of his demise, Hanji Wu admits he raises a point. So he decides to grant the terrified prince a single chance. If Philip accepts his offer, he will give him a healing potion. Terrified, Philip instantly agrees to any condition just to stay alive. Hanji Wu commands him to drop to his knees and beg for Valpurgis' forgiveness. The cowardly prince eagerly agrees to everything. Promising 10,000 florins to the house of Byron, Hanji Wu hands over the potion, telling him to drink it all. Philip takes a quick sip. But then he dumps the rest onto the ground. Hanji Wu asks mockingly, didn't he like the taste? Because that was never a healing potion. It was deadly dragon poison. Realizing he was tricked, Philip's face twists. Philip's face contorts. He is furious. Hanju tells him to thank Hexax for the poison, taken straight from her personal stash. In desperation, Philip lunges forward to strike. He tries to attack Hanju, but is violently struck down before his blade can even connect. It was not Hanju who defended himself, but an old ally. Philip instantly recognizes her. Seeing Piffenheim standing there leaves him utterly speechless. The last time they met, she was doomed. Zombie dogs were devouring her alive, yet she survived. Piffenheim reveals a miracle. After being abandoned, her new master saved her life and gave her a second chance. Now she declares that absolutely nothing binds her to this pathetic, arrogant prince any longer. She never liked his arrogance anyway, and now it is time for Philip to pay. He must pay for his sins, but just before Philip dies, Hanju's system issues a warning. Killing the Iron Elector right now could completely disrupt the progression of the entire game. Hanju cannot fathom how such a disgusting, vile man could be so critical to this world. No way, letting this monster live is not an option he will ever consider. He will find another solution later. Hanju gives Piffenheim the green light to take her revenge. Right on cue, the alarm sounds. The game system screams with critical error alerts. Talk about a bold move. Hanju has absolutely zero regrets, even with those massive error warnings. Meanwhile, from high above, Aquila watches the entire scene unfold with intense interest. She notes that Hanju has successfully shattered a major seal of the system. Judging by his expression, Hanju is incredibly confident, practically radiating pure excitement from every single pore. Aquila absolutely loves this attitude, wanting him to unleash even more chaos upon this world. After all, she knows this is just the beginning, as expected of an elector, Hanju thinks. The rewards for taking down Philip are absolutely massive. On top of that, he unlocks 2 exclusive S-class abilities as level-up rewards, but checking the loot. He gets nothing else, just a single amulet that looks completely ordinary. However, the moment he tries to inspect it closer, the amulet activates a powerful barrier. Seeing this, Hanju decides to bring the item straight to Margareta. She can easily unlock its secrets for him. Right after, his system sounds a sudden alert. A notification pops up. A transcendent being is near. This means trouble. Hunting this incredibly dangerous monster down will require ultimate caution. Still, Hanju is not backing away. He dreams of becoming a transcendent being himself one day. To reach that peak, he must crush the strongest enemies, using them as stepping stones to ascend the ranks. Right then, Piffenheim approaches with an important discovery for her master. While searching the area left behind by Philip's dead soldiers, she uncovered a mysterious item. An incredible find. Hanju realizes this must be the actual main quest reward. The intense glow is on another level entirely. He then asks if she handled the other task. Following his orders, Piffenheim dressed Philip's fallen men in Pesmet faction clothes. This will easily disguise them as demon faction soldiers. Suddenly, they find a single survivor begging for his life, promising to do absolutely anything. Hanju does not recognize him until Piffenheim points out who he actually is. He is one of Philip's surviving soldiers, and she asks what they should do with him. Looking down at the weeping soldier, Hanju smiles. A brilliant plan takes shape. He decides to send a little present straight to Pesmet, hoping the demon lord likes it. Sometime later, Fleet Captain Lawrence arrives at the scene. Walking through the area, he quickly spots the pile of fresh bodies. His men identify them as Pesmet soldiers, reporting that they found another highly unusual discovery nearby. He found a survivor from Philip's team. Lawrence questioned him right away. It turned out the prince and his valuable item were both gone. They had scattered after a brutal attack by Pesmet, getting cornered during their escape. Lawrence's eyes narrowed in deep suspicion. Was this soldier really telling the truth? How could he be the only one alive when everyone else got wiped out? The terrified soldier stammered out a yes, desperately trying to explain himself. Lawrence just sighed, wishing he had arrived sooner to save Philip. He praised the soldier for risking his life, saying he honored their sacred code. Then with a loud, booming voice, Lawrence addressed his entire troop of soldiers. He declared that this brave survivor had honored his commander until the very end. Even in extreme danger, he maintained a truly unbreakable knightly spirit. He is an example to everyone here. Now, they had to go rescue Prince Philip. Later, back at the Palace of Roses, Lawrence presented his official report. He had been searching for Philip, but found only a few vague clues. His superior instantly guessed the valuable item was still missing as well. Philip would never abandon it. Lawrence, of course, quickly blamed Pesmut for everything. Roland let out a sigh, tired of hearing that same old name. The captain apologized, but Roland asserted that finding the item was absolutely paramount. She added it was the only way to restore Philip to his elector status. Roland was confident that Philip was not someone who would die so easily. She ordered a servant to send a message to Pesmut demanding its return. If he refused, she grinned, because what came next would be quite fun. And trust me, things were about to get absolutely wild over at Pesmut's base. He read the message and panicked because the mad Margareta had been resurrected. She was someone even a powerful demon like Pesmut feared with a passion. After all, he was the one who cursed her into a coma. His servant thought she was just human, but Pesmut vehemently disagreed. He snarled that Margareta had invaded Off's hideout alone and crushed everyone. But the worst part was that she did it all over a ruined snack. After that incident, demons everywhere started calling Margareta the destructive storm. Right then, another of Pesmut's servants rushed in with a message from Roland. Pesmut grumbled that this was a terrible time since he already had enough trouble. But as he read the letter, he could not understand what she wanted. He honestly had no clue what valuable item Roland was talking about. With that, Pesmut went completely ballistic over this insane situation. He had a lunatic hunting him down for a completely mystery item. His servant tried to figure out why Roland assumed they had it. They had not taken anything, and they even lost Hexax chasing Philip. The servant mused that everything was starting to look way too suspicious. First Margareta's sudden resurrection, and now this missing, mysterious item. Every event had a clear result, but the actual cause remained incredibly vague. He started suspecting that some brilliant mastermind was pulling all the strings. Honestly, his suspicion was spot on, even if he did not know it yet. Speaking of the devil, Hanju sneezed, and his ally asked if he was sick. No, Hanju replied, just a strange smell near Piffenheim. Piffenheim wondered what her master would do with Philip's cold corpse. Hanju had not decided yet. He was completely focused on something else, after all. He now held the golden imperial document, with that and the prince's body. He could pull off some truly incredible things, he confidently asserted. That he now controlled the entire world, Piffenheim was absolutely thrilled, wishing her master a long and prosperous life. Later on, a few merchants traveled together, planning to drink until they dropped at the very first tavern. They were ready to party, but then a stray arrow struck one of the men. Talk about a major buzzkill. His friend fell right before his eyes, leaving him completely powerless. Bandits had ambushed their carriage, bursting out of the dense forest. Still, the merchants refused to go down without a fight. They demanded vengeance for their fallen comrade, and a chaotic battle erupted. The bandit leader sneered, mocking the merchants for making massive profits by reselling goods to Roland. The lead merchant retorted that they had no idea who they were messing with, but the bandit did not care one bit. He disarmed the merchant, cornering him and laughing. He sneered that he could run to Valpurgis for help or even bring her uncle. Speak of the devil. Valpurgis was having a quiet, private moment with our main character, Hanju. She noticed a smudge on his cheek, leaning close to wipe it away. Suddenly, Margareta burst in, frantically looking for him and completely ruining the moment. Both of them jumped, but Margareta was absolutely stunned. For the first time, she saw Valpurgis' face without her helmet. After drinking some water to calm down, Margareta declared she nearly had a heart attack seeing that beautiful bare face. She teased that such a gorgeous look made her heart race. The High Abbess then warned Hanju to take incredibly good care of her, telling him not to mess this up or she would personally tear him in half. Quickly changing the subject, Margareta wanted to know more about Philip's death. Hanju explained that after defeating the prince, he left the body in custody. But Margareta insisted that Philip being dead already was a major issue. She really wanted to be the one to finish him off herself, seeing the abbess' fury. Hanju silently thought it was a miracle Philip died first. To calm her down, Hanju quickly told her he had a special gift. He pulled out a heavy pouch of money that once belonged to the prince. But now it was all hers to buy whatever delicious food she wanted. Margareta immediately called Hanju a saint of compassion, declaring she was completely enchanted by him. Meanwhile, Valpurgis spotted a stack of documents, asking what they were. Reading them, she realized they detailed Roland's secret plans to make Philip the emperor. Hanju explained the current emperor's relationship with Roland was incredibly strained. Due to heavy financial issues, Margareta added that severe economic blockades were also starting. The emperor was seizing goods from all merchant guilds connected to Roland, which was driving nearby cavalry units absolutely insane. Because of this, House Ritter had attacked the Ignis Merchant Guild. Margareta revealed that this whole mess left Valpurgis under massive stress. Valpurgis, however, never wanted Hanju to find out about any of it. Hanju pressed for answers, and with no other choice left, his friend agreed to explain everything. Sometime later, Hanju realized just how tangled this whole mess actually was. He never imagined the emperor's economic blockade would escalate into a massive clash with the Elector of Byron. Lost in her thoughts, Valpurgis arrived to see him. She admitted she wished he would forget everything he heard earlier, not wanting to drag him into her family troubles, but Hanju made it clear he couldn't ignore this. He wanted to support Valpurgis with whatever she needed. Even so, she insisted this whole situation was far too big for him. She'd seek help from other allies and assured him he shouldn't worry, even though he knew Valpurgis was reliable. Hanju felt she still lacked experience and her heart was far too soft, so he tried to comfort his worried friend, saying he understood this situation was pretty massive for a mere mercenary, but even so, he refused to just stand aside, determined to help her no matter what. After all, he joked that even mercenaries can be useful in their own way. His friend finally brightened up, appreciating his knack for joking even in a tense situation. Regardless, Hanju declared he was feeling quite confident, though Valpurgis didn't quite understand what he meant by that. The very next day, Hanju woke exceptionally early and walked directly to the convent, heading straight for Margareta's private chambers. He burst in abruptly, catching her in the middle of a meal, making her almost choke on her food. Talk about bad timing. Hanju didn't want to wait any longer. He revealed he had a mysterious magic item taken from Philip, but he couldn't open it. Stoking the high abbess' curiosity, he promised that if she opened it right now, she'd get a nice reward. Without a single second thought, Margareta immediately agreed to crack it open. A short while later, Hanju spots a pair of gloves and asks Margareta what they're actually for. She explains they're a heavily upgraded version of that magic zipper she just opened. Now, with a simple flick of her palm, she can spawn items whenever she wants. After stepping away, Hanju admits he's never seen anything quite like it before, wondering if this game somehow received a major update. He doesn't think that's a bad thing, quite the opposite actually, but his thoughts are abruptly cut short when he tries to take a quick drink. Why did you stop riding? Out of nowhere, he asks his horse, completely puzzled. Then Hanju realizes he has finally arrived in the city of Plusen, which is currently in the middle of a massive festival. After pushing through the dense crowd, Hanju finally lets out a relieved sigh. It felt like walking through Disney for 3 hours, but he has finally escaped that overwhelming throng. Suddenly, amidst all the chaos, he spots someone holding up a welcome sign. Hanju realizes this place is exactly as he remembers it, watching crowds of people eagerly awaiting the arrival of someone they call the Great One. Hanju muses that Plusen is a city where many different races coexist, and this Great One they're referring to is None other than the demon king Cubalt. Cubalt played a crucial role in unifying cultures through his vast knowledge and eloquence. He is considered the primary prohuman demon king after Roland, and a vital figure who can help with their current difficult situation. Because of this, Hanju is determined to find him. With this insane situation, now Hanju is determined to find him, no matter what. No matter the cost. Mid-thought, a stranger suddenly approaches him, claiming that Hanju has the unmistakable aura of a legendary hero. He says he can feel Hanju's overwhelming power from a mile away. Hanju pulls up his system screen to see what this weird goblin is talking about. He sees that he actually holds a god-tier SS rank, giving him a passive skill that naturally draws people to him. Smiling at his luck, Hanju tells the creature he wants to meet Cubalt. Thrilled, the goblin cheers that two legends are visiting at once. He mentions that he actually has his own urgent business with Cubalt, and offers to lead the way to the castle himself. Soon they arrive at the castle gates. The guide bids Hanju to wait and enjoy a warm cup of tea while he goes to announce him. Hanju finds it highly suspicious that a low-ranking goblin easily read his level, but shrugs it off for now. There are bigger things to worry about. Right in the center of the room stands a majestic statue of Cubalt himself. Hanju smiles coldly, wondering if he will end up hunting him down soon. Just then the goblin slips back in, asking if the tea is all right. Hanju nods, but warns him to make some noise when he approaches next time. Shifting focus, Hanju asks how a goblin like him ended up working here. The small creature answers that his loyalty to Cubalt is deeper than life itself. Hanju processes this, finding the whole dynamic highly unusual. Everyone in town calls Cubalt the Great One, yet this guy is so casual. That is when Hanju notices a shiny ring sparkling on the goblin's finger. He asks if the little guy is married, making the goblin chuckle softly. He praises Hanju's sharp eyes, claiming it cost 10 years of savings. Hanju smirks, suddenly calling the guide by his actual name, Cubalt. Talk about a plot twist. Hanju admits he took too long to notice the act. That ring is the famous ruby ring Cubalt is known to cherish deeply. Plus, his overly casual attitude earlier only made things more obvious. But the dead giveaway was that he never called Cubalt the Great One. Caught red-handed, the goblin has no choice but to drop the act. Releasing his true form, the mighty lord reveals himself to the hero. He admits he knew he was facing the famous Valorstedt Valor. Introducing himself properly, Cubalt declares that he is the law in Plusen City. He guesses Hanju came all this way to ask about Valpurgis. Hanju nods, demanding critical clues and information about the whole situation. The master of the castle is hesitant to help him out, but he offers a deal, complete a single condition, and he talks. Hanju knew a deal like this was coming from the start. Without missing a beat, he asks what the condition is. He already knows about Cubalt's absolute obsession with rare knowledge. It has been a core trait of his since the beginning. Luckily, Hanju holds secret future war intel and major real estate secrets. Naturally, he is ready for whatever bargain the Lord demands. But get this, Cubalt's real demand is completely unexpected. All he wants is to be friends with Valor. Cubalt explains that Valor has recently become the center of attention, especially after taking down Hexac. Not only that, but he has also grown pretty close to the Empire's most famous paladin, with crazy rumors even swirling about a romance between Valor and Valpurgis. Because of all these reasons, Cubalt wants to connect with Valor, knowing it could prove pretty useful in the future. In response, Hanju asks why he should even be his friend. Cubalt then hands an item to Valor, explaining that this is a communication ring. With this item, they will be able to speak over long distances, but Hanju does not think it is a good idea to make friends with someone like him. However, Cubalt insists that in the name of their new friendship, he would offer all the intel Valor needs. as proof of his sincerity. He reveals a crucial light, a clue hidden in the capital of Saxon. And of course, the capital of that Saxon electorate is named Dresden. Following Cubalt's tip, Hanju travels to Dresden. Guards attempt to block his entry into the city, but he simply flashes his system screen, leaving the soldiers completely terrified. With a stern look, Hanju warns them not to try and stand in his way ever again. Once inside, he walks through the streets, with his system screen openly displayed, just out in the open. Upon seeing this, people immediately drop to their knees, terrified of being attacked or worse. Hanju thinks to himself that it has never been this easy to reach his objective. In no time, he arrives at the Merchant Guild. Inside, a woman announces an unknown individual is approaching their guild, and he appears to be extremely dangerous. However, the powerful young man steps into the building, instantly startling the woman with his displayed system screen. After this, he finds himself face to face with the guild leader. The leader promptly asks why someone like him would come here. Hanju closes his system window, then states his goal is to strike a deal with the leader of the Merchant Guild. Cubalt had previously explained what he knew about Dresden to Hanju. He mentioned that Velia's Merchant Guild and the city's Ritter Knight family were trapped in massive debt, caught in a serious debtor-creditor relationship. Hanju originally had no idea about this kind of secret information. As expected, Cubalt was incredibly well informed. After all, he was the man who had outplayed Hanju in information warfare repeatedly before. His massive intelligence network stretched across the entire continent, earning Cubalt the legendary title of King of Shadows. Judging by the Hanju's expression, Cubalt noted that he seemed satisfied with this information. However, Cubalt still had something more to reveal. Back in the present, Hanju stood with the leader of the Merchant Guild. The guild leader introduced his daughter Marin to Hanju, explaining that she now spends her days confined to her bed. Not long ago, Marin was a normal child, but one day she lost all strength in her arms, unable to even lift a fork. It was not long before her entire body followed suit. Her father hired the best doctors in the city and even outside experts, but no cure proved effective. Ever since watching his daughter in this helpless state, he lamented not seeing her healthy like before. Still, like any decent father, he refused to give up hope on his daughter. He begged the young adventurer to save her. Our hero told the man to just call him Valor from now on. He then explained that the real reason for his visit was to strike a deal. Her condition was incredibly critical. She had suffered severe muscle loss, and her body was dangerously malnourished. Traditional medicine simply would not be enough here. But there was hope, as he knew a secret method that could save her. The father instantly begged to know what to do, and Hanju demanded a rare elixir from Gross Glockner, but hearing that name made the father completely freeze. He knew Gross Glockner was a complete nightmare. To him, getting anything from there was a total suicide mission. Gross Glockner is a massive canyon in the southeastern empire. But despite its beautiful landscapes, it is home to a terrifying ancient dragon named Schwartz Toto. Few ancient dragons remain, but Schwartz Toto possesses unbelievable power. Not even the most powerful demon kings dare challenge him. The deep valley is crawling with bloodthirsty beasts and demons. It is a complete death trap for both humans and monsters alike. But our hero Hanju is built entirely different. He calmly reassured the panicked father, promising to retrieve the elixir himself. This single promise instantly lit a bright spark of hope inside the father's heart. He's still worried, believing nobody survived that place. But Hanju gently pointed out that what Marin needed most right now was her father's love. Deeply moved, the guild leader asked why Valor was helping him. Hanju brought up the massive debt the Ritter family owed to the guild. He wanted that debt completely wiped out. The The guild leader was stunned, but his daughter's life was at stake. Just picturing her healthy and smiling again made it impossible to refuse. He promised to honor the deal. Soon after, Hanju finally arrived at the treacherous Gross Glockner. He loved the cool mountain air. Looking down, he spotted some incredibly rare herbs on the ground. He realized these special flowers could make some highly potent medicine. He warned his horse not to eat them. Guards were stationed everywhere to keep ordinary folks out of the canyon. But our clever hero easily managed to convince them to let him inside. The grass was packed with dragon mana. Nearly every plant was a highly potent medicinal ingredient. In other words, even the dirty soil here was worth its weight in gold. Wasting no time, Hanju gathered every potential remedy he could find. Besides curing the girl, he figured he could sell these for a massive profit. He could also save some for himself. But right in the middle of his harvesting, a flying stone hit Hanju's head. He spun around and spotted a sneering goblin hiding on the opposite ledge. They closed in, leave, they ordered. On top of that, the goblin was backed by a whole army. They claimed this land did not belong to humans. Later on, under the close watch of Hanju, the goblins worked hard. Tilling the dirt, one messed up. Spotting the mistake instantly, the protagonist snapped. Dig properly, he ordered, because he did not want any roots damaged. Work sloppily, and you are all heading straight back to your graves. Annoyed, Hanju then asked if they heard him clearly. Before any of this, the protagonist had been attacked by these very goblins, but he simply used his skills to drain the blood of his enemies. Effortless victory with one single blow. Even in death, they were still useful. Hanju once again used his special powers. He raised their corpses, swiftly creating an army of zombie goblins. This happily kept him from farming alone. Now back in the present, Hanju mockingly mused that they should never have attacked. No chance of winning, right, Kurorak, his servant? Kurorak humbly replied that they failed to recognize his incredible, majestic majesty, yet he thanked him for the mercy. The protagonist chuckled. Honestly, he was the grateful one, since the goblins worked so diligently. Changing the subject, he asked who else lived in these canyons. Kurorak quickly explained that besides the local goblins, the place held werewolves, massive worms, and giant centipedes, plenty of ogres too. Hanju noted that his new servant knew everything, a very wise decision to keep him around. Kurorak bowed, calling it an honor to serve him. Suddenly things got interesting. A voice echoed from his ring on the other end. Cubalt asked if he forgot the ring was for communication. Hanju admitted he did. What was the urgent news? The Demon King then inquired about conditions in Gross Glockner. Hanju replied that the water was fine, the breeze was fresh, and the moon was beautiful. Cubalt mentioned that Plusen was buzzing, preparing heavily for the upcoming festival. He invited him to join if free, but the real issue at hand was that Valpurgis had recently visited Ritter. Cubalt explained. As expected, they demanded an absurdly high settlement fee. They also threatened to seize the goods meant for trade with Roland. Basically, it was completely one-sided and unfair. The protagonist declared they had crossed the line, but Cubalt warned this was just the beginning. He wished Valpurgis would act reasonably, but Hanju knew she would never accept that, urging Cubalt to buy him some time. Cubalt agreed to do this favor for the sake of friendship. With that, the protagonist promised to reward him handsomely when they met again. This pleased the Demon King. Gross Glockner was a literal gold mine, so he expected a good gift. Hearing the background noise, he knew Hanju was incredibly busy, so he would not bother him further. Hanju felt relieved when Cubalt finally hung up. After all, he only tolerated him for the sake of Valpurgis. But just Kurak approaches just as Hanju thinks he can finally rest. A problem has arrived. Hanju spots the danger immediately. A whole pack of massive ogres is here to welcome him. Hanju tells Kurak to back off. He notices something pretty bad. The goblin minions already slaughtered. Worse yet, his blood absorption technique will not work on these beasts. Summoning them again is pointless. They are no match. This means Hanju has to step in. Time to get dirty. Drawing on his mana, he summons Rublana, a legendary weapon. It is the unbreakable treasure of House Paltz. The monsters instantly freeze the second they see it. They recognize the blade. After all, Rublana is famous. It easily pierces the darkness. He mocks Philip for wasting its power. That fool had no clue, but in proper hands it is deadly. Fully armed, Hanju lunges forward, striking down the first beast. He moves with terrifying speed, completely throwing off the other ogres. They can barely track him. He is totally unmatched. It is a mismatch. Before they can swing, Hanju strikes. He cuts them down instantly, leaving zero chance for a counter. Hanju admits he was not even sure this technique would work. But the results speak for themselves. Talk about an absolute masterclass. Even his new servant is left staring in utter shock. Hanju shrugs it off, claiming this was nothing compared to his prime. His victory lap is cut short, a sudden, brutal ambush. A strange creature lunges, demanding to know what he is doing. Before Hanju can even register the attack, she grabs his throat. The enraged beast growls, threatening to snap his neck like a twig. This is a real opponent, someone of equal power. She effortlessly hurls him across the battlefield like trash. Crashing down, Hanju realizes this is a major problem. That single hit took 10% of his health. She demands his name. Hanju spits back that she should introduce herself first. Smirking, she reveals she is the master of Gross Glocker. The demon dragon. Hanju did not expect this human look. He expected a massive beast, not a woman stepping closer. She senses something odd, noting his life energy feels foreign. Kurak bravely leaps in front of his master to shield him. But the dragon has absolutely zero patience for his bold claims. She threatens to end them both right then and there. Hanju desperately tries to negotiate, but she is completely tuned out. So he drops a massive bombshell: "If I die, you die too." That stops her cold. She furiously demands to know what he means. Hanju explains that he occasionally sees the future in his dreams. In one of those visions, he saw her, and it was pretty dark. He watched the great demon dragon suffer an absolutely horrific death. But Hanju dares her. If she doubts him, she can read his memories herself. She reaches out to scan his mind, but her sharp claws accidentally graze him. Pricking him, pausing for a second, she decides to give it a try. But she warns him if he is lying, he is dead. Retracting her claws, she concentrates and plunges straight into Hanju's mind. The moment she enters, a bizarre sensation washes over her. She sees a chaotic storm of information that she cannot possibly comprehend. Hanju's voice echoes in her head: "Ignore that, focus on what matters." Ignoring his warning, her curiosity drags her toward other hidden memories. To block her, Hanju immediately projects one specific vision. She finds this sudden projection highly suspicious, but she has no choice. Trapped inside his head, she must watch. Then she sees herself. Seeing her own true dragon form, she realizes he was not lying. That single glimpse is enough to confirm his story. Gasping, she yanks herself out of Hanju's mind while he lets out a sigh. Talk about a close call. Still shaken, the dragon murmurs, "Who could possibly be strong enough to actually kill her?" Regardless, she promises to leave him in peace in these mountains. But Hanju suggests making a deal first, starting with her name. It is way too long, so he decides to call her Shui. She clearly hates it, but Hanju reassures her she can survive. Huffing that she is thousands of years old, she rejects it completely. But Hanju insists she just listen to his proposal. Suddenly, Hanju's system chimes, ordering him to gain her trust. The difficulty is high. Later, a snake slithers through the grass only to get crushed by a passing foot. A self-proclaimed master of the abyss, the king of chaos and disorder. His name is Odgash, the demon king, just as he finishes. His servant interrupts to say they are nearly there. They must keep moving, but Odgash scoffed at the interruption. He is making his grand entry and will tolerate no delays. The servant apologizes, but Odgash waves him off, mood already ruined. Just then a woman appears, declaring that servant belongs to her. Odgash chuckles, welcoming his daughter Kalon to the field. He welcomes her, promising that once this campaign ends successfully, he will grant her greatest wish, but Kalon insists. She does not need it, making Odgash smile warmly. Addressing his army, he notes that the mountain region of Gross Glockner is guarded by the demon dragon, whose beasts are nothing special. However, the demon dragon herself will definitely not be an easy opponent. He orders them to devour everything and crush all living things. Finally, Odgash bellows out that their victory is guaranteed. Under his leadership, now that his demonic children are motivated, they are ready to march forward toward their objective. Back with Hanju, he gathers his loyal servants to explain. Even with weird monsters and a super uncooperative dragon stalling them, their main focus is simple: harvest every rare herb possible. All of it goes to Dresden. He orders the goblins back to work. Right on cue, Kurek serves his master a fresh mandra drink. Hanju takes a sip. Running into a dragon here is risky. Normally, it would be extremely dangerous without his memories from previous playthroughs. Yet he can already tell this entire run is completely different. From Philip acting strange to the dragon showing up. And let us not forget Valpyrus finally showing her face. To verify what is actually going on, he decides to check his system. Just as he suspected, our hero realizes this is no random fluke. Every single event in this current timeline has deviated from his previous life. Whatever comes next will be new. He knows Gross Glockner inside out, remembering almost every single map by heart. So why was the dragon in the wrong place? It makes no sense. Clearly, something is incredibly wrong with the world now. The battle at Harfame, the Steel Elector versus Pahimut, and Friedrich betraying them. Even the major crisis over at the Grand Convent of Valpurgis. The main plots remain the same, but the minor details are completely off. Yet he cannot pinpoint what is missing. What did he forget? Suddenly, a loud commotion among the goblins cuts his thoughts short. He goes over to investigate. What are they yelling about? One worker merely cut his hand harvesting. Hanju warns them all to tread carefully because certain roots can be highly toxic. That is why he showed them the correct extraction methods first. He tries to focus again, but then he spots the injured goblin. The little guy has a brother. Seeing them reminds him of Charlotte and her sister, another detail unique to this specific timeline. Then it hits him. A sudden rush of realization washes over him. Once his position changed, his entire perspective changed along with it. In the past, he played the role of the mighty Steel Elector, the ruler of an empire and the hero who saved the world. He had legendary, godlike powers back then, but right now, he is just a lowly mercenary, nothing compared to his past lives. All he brought with him are his memories, but on the flip side, our hero did something completely different this time around. He built actual connections with people who were once just faceless background NPCs. Just seeing Valpyrus show her face made all this madness worth it. Before, Hanju would have simply cleared her debt and walked away. He never knew her story, but now everything is different. Things truly started shifting after his encounter with Aquila. She was the one who gave him the missing piece of the puzzle. To find the game's true ending, a mysterious new space was created. With that came an entirely new character. Now it all makes sense. He can see it clearly now. Aquila is the one behind everything. Kurak notices his master acting strangely, asking if the drink is bad. A loud bang echoes nearby. Shubai appears, shouting Hanju was right. She claims he was right. Hanju just smiles, thank Aquila. The demon dragon is totally lost, but Hanju keeps explaining, making no sense. He explains that Aquila made their game way more interesting than before. Shubai sighs, she did not understand a single word of that. Regardless, Hanju is ready, he wants to show them all. From now on, he does whatever he wants. A brand new strategy begins right now. Watching him behave like this leaves everyone in the room completely confused. Back to the Demon King, Odgesh, he is currently destroying everything. Trees shatter, rocks explode. It is a raw display of power. His vast army cheers. Suddenly, his daughter speaks up. She senses something. Is it the demon dragon? Odgesh asks, looking up. As he spots the figures, Odgesh scoffs, just a human. And a goblin, but his daughter warns him, they are not alone. A massive roar echoes. Odgash's eyes light up with joy. She is finally here. Shubai glares at him and his army. She demands they leave, get out of her territory now. Odgash just laughs. He has waited a very long time for this moment. He offers a deal. Shubai rejects it without a single thought. She glances at Hanju. He gives the signal. Battle begins. Daring her enemy to attack, she makes him feel completely ignored. Odgash realizes he was basically talking to himself this whole time. Suddenly, Shubai flies off with Odgesh, leaving the rest to Hanju. Hanju expected this invasion, but it is happening way too early. He could ignore this, but the demon dragon is too useful. He cannot let her die, not now, not like this. Besides, the continent's greatest beauty, Lady Callian, stands before him. She removes her helmet, steps forward, leads her elite army. Seeing her face, Hanju remembers a vital detail. Pay attention to this. Callian is a high-risk character. She can be ally or enemy. But she is incredibly strong, even more powerful than Pahamut. They do not call her the Ice Queen for nothing. He must recruit her, no matter what, seizing his chance. Hanju tells Callian she is even more beautiful in person. Immediately, a sharp spear is pressed right against his throat. Hanju just deadpans. He only wants to speak with the princess. Furious, the princess's loyal servant lunges forward to strike him. Worried for his master, Kurak quickly leaps into the fight. Hanju smiles. His favorite little goblin is incredibly loyal. Kurak yells out, nobody touches his master without a fight. This is a major change from when the goblin ran away before. Hanju smirked, telling the princess his guard is much better. Suddenly, a whip lashes out, wrapping around the enemy tight. A new player enters. The mind-controlled vampire Hexax appears. Hanju kept this ace up his sleeve for this exact moment, and now he has unleashed his servant to crush the enemy, but Hexax is not the only one. Entering the fray against the Dark Nun, Piffenheim has stepped up too. She vows to slice down anyone daring to strike her master, making Kalon realize that Hanju is controlling vampires like puppets. On his side, a massive army of reborn soldiers stands ready while she commands a horde of monsters. The princess admits that her opponent has some seriously powerful allies, but she boasts that she has a whole legion of demons loyal to Lord Odgesh. Ordering her forces to attack and leave absolutely no one alive, Kalon sends her army charging forward as the reborn servants of Hanju crash into them in a massive wave. The masters do not stand by either, throwing themselves straight into the clash as Kalon manages to force Hanju back, claiming that normal fighters could never block her attacks. She even rates him higher than Pahamut himself. Hanju admits that getting praised by the princess is quite an honor, but he feels some deep regret that she serves Odgesh, claiming her true father would weep tears of blood if he saw her now. Hanju knows her identity as Lady Kalon, Romania Chimers, the sole daughter of the former Level 1 Demon Lord. Kalon demands to know what else he has discovered, making the master burst out laughing. which only makes her snap and ask what is so funny. Hanju just finds it hilarious that she is blind enough to serve the very monster who ended her own father. Hearing this completely freezes Callan in her tracks as she struggles to understand. She demands to know what he means, because to her father was the absolute most respected person in the world. She always held dear the warmth in his eyes, which brought her peace and inspired other demons to find their strength. She was so incredibly proud of him, and he was her whole world and her source of true happiness, until everything shattered with his death. Lord Kymers was tragically slain by Gorakalgam and Callus, and that was when Odgash took her in, claiming he hated those murderous demons just as much as she did. He swore her father was his ultimate master and his closest friend, promising a brand new beginning where they would work together to finally get their ultimate revenge. But back in the reality of the present, Callan boils with anger. Absolutely furious to hear this outsider insult her savior, Hanju, however, points out how terribly she has been played, but tells her to check out an item first. With a casual flick, he tosses a mysterious energy sphere right to Callan. Meanwhile, Odgash faces down the demon dragon, rambling about how romance is key. He views this whole bloody war as his own twisted romantic drama. Shubai points the finger at him for ruining Callan's life, but Odgash simply argues back that he did not kill Kymers. Gorakalgam and Callus did the deed. But Shubai is not buying any of his cheap excuses for a second. Because she knows the dark truth, Odgash chuckles, calling her incredibly stubborn, before finally giving in, admitting she is right about those two idiots being clueless. There was no way they could take down Kymers alone, so he confesses his role, revealing that when they learned he held the key to her father's only weakness, they drooled at the chance, but Odgash had no idea that Callan was practically drooling over the opportunity. Odgash had no idea Callan was playing him. She hung onto every word. The sphere Hanjewu had thrown her was actually a projection device. Faced with this brutal truth, Callan went into deep shock. Since losing her father, she had viewed Odgash as her second parent. Hanjewu knew his plan was working. Earlier, he had coordinated everything with Shui, who provided the magical projector. He had asked her to play it mid-battle, wanting Odgash to confess all his crimes. While they fought, Shui had not understood why, but Hanjewu insisted it was crucial for the plan. Now, Callan completely stopped fighting, lost deep in thought over what she had heard. Hanjewu knew Shui had done exactly as agreed, making his scheme succeed. Now the rest was up to him. Weeping, Callan cried that everything she believed was nothing but a cruel act by Odgash. She remembered how he had stayed by her side since childhood. Meanwhile, Hexax announced her job was done. Hanjewu simply told her to stay put. Defeated, Callan confessed she never imagined she had served her true enemy for 50 long years. This revelation completely shattered her. Hanjewu then suggested that, instead of weeping, she could finally claim her long-awaited revenge. From now on, he offered to teach her Kymers' sacred right of the true name. What she did with it would be entirely up to her. Callan gasped, remembering how long it had been since she heard of that. A magic that borrows the vast power of the cosmos, capable of wounding even an archdemon. It was that exact magic that made her father the greatest demon lord. But she quickly added that only her father knew its secrets. How could a stranger know? Hanjewu smiled, knowing he had studied everything cover to cover using the strategy guide. He knew Kymer inside and out, the overwhelming power of the ritual, his true name, and even his single fatal weakness. But first, he had to tell Callan a convincing story. To win her over, he explained that he had read the Chronicles of the Seven Demon Wars, which detailed methods to resist the archdemon. Among those detailed ways was Kymer's right of the true name, proving incredibly useful. Callan admitted that made sense, pleasing Hanjewu. But she added that she still could not help him defeat Odgash because He was completely immortal. She explained that before he became her father's subordinate, Odgash suffered a direct blow from that spell, leaving him helpless temporarily, but her father could not finish him. However, Han Jae-woo countered that she was gravely mistaken. He pointed out that the soldiers currently protecting her were actually part of his vampire army. No matter how strong she was, she could not fight them alone. Han Jae-woo offered an alliance, asking if she would follow him or die right there. This made Kalon highly emotional. She remembered childhood days, telling her father that when she grew up, she wanted to be a great demon lord like him. Her father had said that to do so, she must become even stronger. Kalon had asked if that was possible, and he said yes because he truly believed in his precious daughter. Back in the present, she tearfully asked Han Jae-woo if she could truly defeat Odgesh. He remained silent. No one understood why she cried while asking this. Even his own allies found it strange. It was surprising, but Piffenheim noted that in demon years, Kalonai was still just a child. Kurak, meanwhile, wondered if his master had completely forgotten about their other massive problem. Not far away, Odgesh was still battling Shaoi, yet despite facing a powerful opponent, he felt zero fatigue or difficulty. Honestly, he claimed to be massively disappointed, expecting far more from her. Shaoi, however, utterly scorned his cheap provocation, ready to keep fighting. She was initially tasked with distracting the enemy, but Odgesh grew annoyed when she avoided a direct confrontation. Worse still, her adversary fully expected her to accept his offer instead of allying. Shaoi flatly rebuffs Odgesh, unleashing her fearsome dragon breath, but despite the sheer strength of her blast, she couldn't defeat him so easily. Odgesh was far stronger than expected, easily defending and launching a vicious counterattack, brimming with absolute confidence before his foe. "If a fight is what you want," he declared, "I will gladly grant your wish." Then he lunged at Shaoi with blinding speed, slamming her hard against the ground. After taking that brutal hit, Shaoi vowed revenge and triggered her true transformation. Attacking Odgesh in her colossal dragon form, the sheer impact shook the earth. Meanwhile, Han Jae-woo tells Kurak to watch where he steps. Hexek, watching their little interaction, finds it incredibly adorable. She views the goblin as his cute little pet. Piffenheim approaches his master, noting Shaoi's mana is surging rapidly. She is even breaking her polymorph. He observes, yet his companion still wonders if Lady Shaoi can actually withstand this monster. Han Jae-woo points out that the battles in Gross Glockner are taking a massive toll on her, but then an idea strikes him. He calls to Kalonai, declaring he has an important mission. "Do you accept the challenge?" he asks. Without hesitation, she replies yes. Nearby, Odgesh fiercely battles the dragon. Shaoi tries to strike, but Odgesh gives her no breathing room, boasting that he is truly enjoying this test of strength. Shaoi unleashes her fiery breath, yet Odgesh effortlessly defends against it. Realizing this, Shaoi intensifies her assault, finally landing a powerful blow and inflicting significant damage. Yet Odgesh laughs it off, claiming it is not enough to defeat him, demanding even more to satisfy his battle lust. Shaoi calls him highly arrogant, declaring she is not even using her full power yet. If she did, a planetary collapse would be nothing compared to her strikes, but Odgesh remains entirely unfazed. In turn, he states he has his own tricks ready. Raising his colossal axe, he viciously strikes Shaoi. The blow is so heavy it sends her flying, causing massive devastation. Afterward, Odgesh mocks her, claiming he didn't expect a demon dragon to be so pathetic or to defeat her this easily. With that crushing blow, Shaoi reverts to her weaker human form. Odgesh approaches, gloating that he has finally discovered the reason for her weakness. She is trapped in this place and he is curious why, but instead of answering, Shaoi merely scorns her foe. Odgesh admits she is unyielding, but now she will meet her end. However, before he can strike her down, Han Jae-woo suddenly appears, stopping his blade cold and landing a heavy strike. Shaoi sighs in relief at his arrival, but still grumbles that he is late. Han Jaiwoo tells Shubai she looks terrible, which she definitely does not appreciate. Odgash struggles to his feet, instantly demanding to know what happened to Kalon. Han Jaiwoo simply replies that he will find out soon, then gestures to the sky. Suddenly, Kalon drops down from above, asking Odgash if he forgot something. Odgash freezes, utterly shocked by her sudden return. He commands her to use this legendary power against Han Jaiwoo. Han Jaiwoo stops him cold, having heard enough. He commands Kalon to execute her father's killer, but Odgash denies it. He desperately claims Kamer was his best friend and he would never hurt him. Shubai steps forward, ready to confront him with the truth. She reveals his lies were already secretly broadcasted. This means Kalon already knows everything, sending Odgash into a wild panic. Odgash screams of conspiracy, prompting Han Jaiwoo to order Shubai's trap. Shubai instantly acts, locking the demon down with her power. Giant, crushing roots explode from the earth as a massive magic seal binds him. Odgash remains totally unfazed, daring the entire group to attack him together. Kalon does not hesitate, instantly launching her newly mastered naming magic at him. Seething with rage, she pours her absolute hatred into the spell. The devastating spell hits home, engulfing Odgash in a blinding explosion of force. This massive strike leaves Kalon feeling completely drained. But Odgash is in much worse shape, taking the full brunt of her power. Thinking of her dead father, Kalon gets incredibly emotional. But she has no time to grieve, the monster is already standing back up. Caught completely off guard, Kalon watches as Han Jaiwoo leaps into action. He strikes first, refusing to let Kalon get targeted. The demon absolutely loathes being hurt by a human, but anger changes nothing. Han Jaiwoo grabs the demon's own severed horn. To put down an immortal, you must strike them down using their own body. Only by turning his own flesh against him can this monster be truly slain. With one precise blow, he kills him. Instantly, the game system rings out with notification screens of his massive rewards. Nearby, Shubai quickly casts healing magic on Kalon, who is barely hanging on. She spent far too much mana on her attack, but survived. But with the battle won, Kalon stares blankly, unsure of where to go now. Han Jaiwoo warmly invites her to join them. After everything she has suffered, Kalon realizes she finally has a real home. Back at the guild, Marin, the leader's daughter, has finally opened her eyes. She hates the medicine, but her father insists. After all, Lord Valor and his party risked their lives fetching this cure. Marin asks if her father will now grant her special wish. He smiles and nods, while Han Jaiwoo waits to talk business. The young hero asks if their secret agreement stands, but the leader motions him to step outside into private. There, Han Jaiwoo asks if the debt issue is finally resolved. He admits the debtors are fiercely opposing him. Why are they making such? Why all the fuss? Valor asks, and the guild leader points to one man. The Elector of Saxony. He recently met with the guild master, claiming those debtors are high-spending VIP clients who bring in serious cash. Because of that, he opposes their current deal, reminding everyone of their long-standing alliance. If the merchant simply sets up a direct meeting with this elector, he promises he can flip the entire situation in their favor. Valor instantly sees through the noise. They are absolutely terrified. They fear settling this debt will completely cut their ties to Saxony. No wonder those bastards from the Lighter Guild acted so recklessly. A simple clash between the Emperor and the House of Bayern would be balanced. But dragging the Elector of Saxony into the mix throws everything into total chaos. The stakes are suddenly massive, making a bad situation 10 times worse. Now he gets why Valpurgis is losing sleep, and he desperately needs a plan. Sensing his deep worry, the merchant offers to find another way out. But Valor cuts him off, pressing him with a sharp question. He asks the merchant straight up, "Are you actually any good at negotiating?" Meanwhile, a desperate noble learns that Saxony intends to turn against his family. He regrets not accepting the debt transfer when they had the chance. They could have bought more time, but now they have absolutely nothing left. The messenger admits there is absolutely nothing left for them to do. Terrified, the noble orders his servant to head straight for the capital. He must beg the emperor directly, doing whatever it takes to survive. The servant cannot return until this nightmare is completely settled. But hold on, a sudden, massive system alert is about to change everything. His summon undead skill proficiency has leveled up, unlocking a huge buff. He can now summon his allies anytime, so he immediately calls for Piffenheim. She materializes under the blazing sun, completely unaffected by the daylight. Valor proudly realizes she and her kin are now true day walkers. And with this new power, he immediately hands her a critical task. He presents a secret document, ordering her to deliver it to Reeb Saltz. It is an incredibly sensitive file, so extreme caution is absolutely necessary. Soon after, the guildmaster arrives to announce some great news. Everything Valor requested for his upcoming journey is officially prepared. He presents a breathtaking luxury carriage, a masterpiece fit only for royalty. Securing such a rare item required pulling some major high-level strings. He even added funds for rare herbs and plenty of pocket gold. But the guild master cannot help but wonder about one major thing. What exactly does Valor plan to do with such an incredibly lavish carriage? Valor just smirks, hinting he will use it to smash some heads. Right then, young Marin steps up to bid him a warm farewell. Though she is recovering well, Valor warns her to still take things easy. The sweet girl smiles, claiming she has a very special parting gift. She suddenly plants a kiss on his cheek, leaving everyone utterly speechless. Flustered, Valor can only watch as she calls it her thank you. After their sweet goodbyes, the young girl and her father head back home. She reminds her father of his old promise to grant her one wish, then declares it. Her dream is to become Lord Valor's bride, claiming she was utterly enchanted by him. But her father, not pleased, definitely not with this sudden turn of events. Meanwhile, far away from the drama, Hanju and his group continue traveling. Calonne points out that Marin is a bold warrior for trying such a stunt. She is honestly surprised Marin would try to win Hanju over so aggressively. Still, Calonne notes that Lord Valor seems to care far more about cold cash. Hanju just laughs. He says they simply do not understand. To him, the entire world runs on money. That is just how life is. But under the disapproving glares of Calonne's nuns, he quickly gets awkward. Thankfully, a call comes in from Cubalt, who heard Hanju survived Gross Glockner. Hanju assures his ally that he is perfectly fine and moving forward. Cubalt then asks if the enemies have already retreated from the area. His scout ravens spotted their hasty departure just a moment ago. The fresh intel has just reached his hands. Hanju is impressed by the speed and asks what else he learned. Cubalt reveals that things are going exactly as Hanju predicted. The enemy forces headed to the capital, and they seemed completely furious. Hanju chuckles and admits he is probably the one who annoyed them. He hints that more surprises are coming, and Cubalt shares some news. Apparently, Roland of the Rose Demons is currently stationed in the capital. Hearing this, Hanju tells him to start spreading a specific rumor. Cubalt calls him incredibly meticulous, but Hanju says that is their deal. His partner agrees and promises a good reward, but wants to hang up. Hanju teases him, telling his ally not to be so embarrassed. Cubalt simply says he will trust him, then quickly cuts the line. Once the call ends, Hanju realizes his joke was actually pretty cringe. He realizes his tease was pretty awkward, while Calonne looks surprised. She never expected him to be so close with Cubalt of Planin. His list of contacts is way larger than she ever could have guessed. Suddenly, Hanju gets a wild idea, making Calonne feel quite self-conscious. She asks why he is staring, and he explains she has a job. This is crucial for their mission. Sometime later, they arrive in Vienna. Streets in the imperial capital are buzzing with intense new rumors. Everyone is gossiping about the arrival of Keimer's legendary daughter. They whisper about how she single-handedly avenged her father by slaying Odgesh. Rumors say she unleashed her family's ultimate secret technique. On top of that, everyone agrees her physical beauty is absolutely unmatched. Just then, Han Ju's carriage rolls into the crowded city square. The crowd goes wild. They assume Calonne is the daughter. Dressed up and flustered, she asks if this ridiculous plan is truly necessary. He insists it is, calling her beautiful face their ultimate strategic weapon. Calonne grumbles that she only knows swords and axes, but he quickly scolds her. A lady in such an elegant gown should never speak so crudely. Still, she absolutely hates being the center of attention and feels incredibly awkward. She feels deeply uncomfortable with the massive crowd waiting. Worse, she has no clue how to behave formally. Hanju assures her it is simple. She just needs to rest one hand gracefully on her cheek and the other gently over her folded knees. On top of that, she must wear the most enchanting expression she can possibly muster. Do that and she will be fine. Irritated, Calonne snaps back that the hero knows damn well she is a commander who leads armies. She normally wears heavy battle armor, not frilly dresses. Doing this ridiculous pose will utterly destroy her reputation as a military leader. She fumes, yet the team leader calmly reminds her that she has absolute freedom to walk away and forge her own path, but if she wants to stay, he warns she must follow his rules. Cornered, Calonne has no choice. She does exactly as instructed, resting one hand gracefully on her cheek and the other over her folded knees. Then comes the real test. She puts on an incredibly enchanting look, showcasing her breathtaking, gorgeous face. When her jaws drop everywhere, and honestly, no one can blame them. Despite her extreme embarrassment, Calonne holds her pose. Instantly, she wins everyone over. Completely unused to such a loud reception, Calonne is genuinely startled by the wild, cheering crowd. Meanwhile, not far away, Roland gathers her entire household staff. She announces the imminent arrival of a highly important visitor. She deeply regrets that they are not hosting him at her Grand Rose Palace, because this guest matters more than the Emperor and far more than any terrifying demon lord. Needing absolute perfection, she demands her entire team step up. She commands the chefs to prepare the absolute finest feast of their lives. Next, she orders the maids to make the estate spotlessly clean and beautiful. It must outshine the Rose Palace itself. Just then, an attendant rushes in to report that their crucial guest is arriving right now. Roland quickly tells everyone to give their absolute best effort. This is the most crucial day of her entire life, she declares. Secretly, she knows she is doing all this solely for her beloved Lord Keimer's. The legendary beauty of Roland always enchanted men. This made her the ultimate envy of all demons, though her true nature ran deeper. Armed with silver-tongued diplomacy, she turned the territory of Rose into an incredibly dominant nation, earning herself the title of the Bride of Rose. But there is a hidden, tragic history behind her prestigious crown. Years ago, she confessed to Keimer's that he was the sole person she could ever trust. Confident her love would never waver, Roland desperately begged him to accept her. But before he could answer, little Calonne suddenly interrupted their quiet conversation. Innocently asking her father who this pretty lady was, he simply replied that she was a trusted coworker. Eager to welcome her, Calonne offered Roland a sweet homemade treat she had baked with her uncle Odgesh. Because you are pretty, Calonne chimed, I want to give you my best cookies. Roland finally understood. His heart was completely occupied by his beloved daughter. Sometime later, she approached Princess Calonne with a soft request, asking the young girl to eventually name a future castle. It would be a massive honor if Lady Calonne chose it. Captivated by her brilliant beauty, the princess immediately suggested. The iconic name, the Palace of Roses, Roland absolutely loved it. A grand castle arose, built on the princess's own ideas. Now, back in the present, Roland and Calonne finally reunite, since Lord Kymers is no longer here. Roland prioritized finding his daughter, his only blood relative. With absolute grace, she kneels before the princess. Calonne is deeply impressed. The reception is magnificent. Roland sighs. If only they were at the Palace of Roses, she could have served an epic feast, but Calonne assures her this is already more than enough. Roland also offers her gratitude to Lord Valor for rescuing the princess. Everyone thought she was dead, Roland mentions, hearing from Count Nerder that Valor always overcomes difficulties. Uniquely, she even hints at a strange connection between them, but Hanji Wu quickly steers the topic elsewhere. Roland sighs regretfully. She enjoys a good love story, but since he insists they can finally talk business, it is time. The protagonist reveals the real purpose of his visit, a message from Philip, the Elector of Steel. Roland feels relief knowing he is alive. Can she see him? Hanji Wu shakes his head. Unfortunately, no. Philip is in no condition to receive any visitors. In that case, Roland wants to get straight to business. He relays Philip's message. Philip cannot act openly at this time, appointing Valorstead Valor as his proxy with full authority. He requests Roland's aid in recovering the pulse soon. To win, Hanji Wu must secure her alliance. He will lie if he has to. She must be his ally, since Margarita was cursed by the great lord who squats in the grave. Pezid clearly has backing from that same master. Margarita alone cannot defeat him, and Hanji Wu cannot kill anyone protected by that god. Recruiting Roland is his only salvation. With her, he can put Pezid in his place, Hanji Wu concludes. The Elector's message. Roland had listened to the whole speech with rapt attention. To agree, she has just one final condition. She notes that Valor must already know her desperate situation. Protagonist deduces she is talking about the harsh economic blockade. So Roland presses. If Valor truly represents the Elector, the Emperor cannot ignore his words. Hanji Wu tells her not to worry. Everything is set, the trap is laid. Meanwhile, at the Imperial Palace, a frantic servant begs for the Emperor's help, only to be flatly rejected. Emperor Fran IV simply sighs, expressing shallow regret. He claims his heart softened as soon as he heard the case. Yet the servant begs for some kind of royal order. But the Emperor, surrounded by piles of glittering gold, remains unmoved. He rejects the play despite their prior debt agreement. They were kind enough to bring a small tribute to his empire. Plus, he hears the Velia Guild is currently supporting the debtors. The desperate servant, sent to convince the greedy ruler to stop the treaty, is completely lost. He must go face his master and admit his complete failure. Right then, a royal soldier rushed inside. Lord Valor has arrived. The Emperor instantly approved his immediate entry. Stepping into the Grand Palace, Valor stood tall, declaring it an immense honor to stand before him. Introducing himself as Valorstead Valor, he offered his full service. The Emperor welcomed him, openly telling him to ignore the other messenger. Dismissing the man completely, Valor still requested a completely private audience with the ruler. Reluctantly, the Emperor agreed. The noble envoy was quickly escorted out of the room. Instead of leaving quietly, he begged the Emperor to reconsider, but it was useless. To make matters even worse, as the man was dragged away, Valor simply smiled and waved goodbye. Talk about brutal disrespect. The messenger left in pure rage. Meanwhile, back in Odgash's castle, the defeated demons explained everything to Odgash's angry daughter. She was completely enraged, shouting that she should have been allowed to join. If she were there, she seethed, things would have gone much better. During her tantrum, a servant arrived with urgent news, but she ignored him. The servant pressed on, announcing that the emperor decreed a harsh economic blockade on their territory. She stood there, completely baffled. Complex diplomatic issues were not her thing, leaving the servant quite worried. She frowned, finally asking what a blockade even meant for them. Back in the throne room, Valor was finally alone with the emperor. He remarked that looking at the capital's grandeur, he felt the incredible power of his majesty, making him feel unworthy to stand there. But the ruler cut him off, telling him to stop with the useless, polite flattery. The ruler knew that since Valor entered politics, he had already used Chimer's daughter to ease anti-demon hatred in key areas. He even turned enemies into allies, meaning Valor had a hidden agenda. The emperor demanded to know his goal, still viewing Valor as nothing but a tiny, helpless mouse thinking mere words can defeat a powerful predator. Still, in his massive pride, the emperor doubted he could ever be outsmarted. He bluntly asked the newly appointed hero what he truly wanted. In response, Valor humbly requested that the ongoing economic blockade on the Rose Kingdom be shifted directly to Odgash's demon territory. The emperor questioned his motives, wondering what he personally stood to gain from this. A simple, basic treaty with Rose was simply not enough for him. He added that the ancient Black Widow Roland did not interest him. Valor quickly insisted that she would obey any of his commands completely. He presented a secret document that immediately piqued interest. It stated that Roland herself agreed to pay a massive sum, 10,000 florins annually, though the suspicious ruler still demanded proof of its actual authenticity. Valor explained that since Odgash was currently the most despised villain on the entire continent, blocking him would bring the emperor endless praise and absolute adoration from every single country. The emperor admitted Valor's proposal was intriguing, but he still believed. He argues there is little justification, claiming politics is no emotional game. Inside, Valor fumes. The emperor did not say that. Back when Rossarent was blocked over Roland's tribute refusal. Then he speaks up again. Odgash perished in the recent war. Now his followers prepare to declare war on the demonic dragon. The conflict remains. The empire's terrified citizens are completely on edge. It is decision time. The emperor notes Valor's gifted words. He could convince anyone. Hanju offers his silent thanks. But internally, he knows it is actually his mind-bending skill. Valor humbly states he only wishes to repay His Majesty's grace. A small token of loyalty, but this infuriates the emperor. He refuses to be fooled by such sweet, comforting lies. Does Valor dare test the patience of the continent's ruler? Immediately, he fiercely orders guards to drag Valor from his sight. Talk about whiplash. Hanju has no clue why the emperor is acting up. Later at Roland's party, Calonne sits feeling incredibly awkward. She watches her servants feast while she sits there utterly miserable. Meanwhile, the emperor is having a blast, laughing his head off. He boastfully claims he had a highly pleasant talk with Lord Valor. Hanju cannot wrap his head around this sudden, massive shift. The emperor loudly insists that Valor must call him uncle from now on. No formal titles. Hanju hesitantly plays along, calling him uncle. The ruler beams, happily saying it is much better this way. Outside, the servant kicked out of the palace is absolutely seething. Jealous of their bond, he fumes that this should be his. He cannot fathom how Valor succeeded where he failed so miserably. Suddenly, an ally asks why they must kidnap Valpurgis. Another conspirator warns that the entire plan is too dangerous. They should seek other options, but their bitter leader retorts. They must do what is needed, or their families are ruined. He demands they move with extreme caution, but absolute precision. Meanwhile, our exhausted protagonist finally drags himself back to his room. Calonne sighs, telling him that is what happens when he overdrinks. Hanju laughs it off, calling it simple socializing. He boasts that back in his prime, he easily survived 7 rounds of drinking. Right then, Cubalt calls him, sounding absolutely frantic about a crisis. Nursing a splitting headache, Han-ju tries to hang up. But Cubalt warns him this is no joke. Valpurgis is in danger. He desperately begs Valor to take this critical situation seriously. Deep in Odgash Castle, the Demon King's daughter demands action. Margaret Vontach intends to avenge her fallen father immediately. She swears she will devour the demonic dragon if necessary. She fiercely commands every single combat-ready warrior to prepare for war. They must train intensely without a single moment of rest. Once they are prepared, they will march straight to Gross Glockner. The princess's servant suggests they avoid acting rashly, explaining that the emperor has already declared an economic blockade there, and recently. Valpurgis even brought Saint Margaret back to life. Furthermore, the blockade on Roserant has been lifted, so Roland won't stay silent either, making things worse. He urges them to act cautiously when executing their plans. However, Margaret Vontage remains completely unconvinced, declaring that nothing will stand in her way, especially not the weak. Meanwhile, Valpurgis finds herself trapped. Why are you doing this? She demands. The lead conspirator reveals their intention. They aim to persuade the emperor. He boasts about their fortress, possessing an iron defense surrounded by the lake. Even if the Byrons attack, they will struggle to bring it down. Ultimately, he boasts that their plan cannot fail, but Valpurgis just scoffs, calling them idiots for believing mere gates can protect them. Annoyed, the enemy snaps, "Silence, you are too noisy for a hostage. Are you waiting for that bastard Valor?" He sneers, absolutely seething from his last defeat. Valor inflicted on him, but Valpurgis retorts that he will face even greater humiliation once she is free, and there is nothing he can do about it. The enemy counters that she is all alone. Suddenly, another conspirator bursts in, shouting about an invasion. Outside, the rescue team has already surrounded the area. Hexax reports that all units, except Piffenheim on his special mission, have gathered and are ready to attack. Kurak asks if he should join the fight. Quiet, everyone, the protagonist commands. Their mission is to rescue Valpurgis and annihilate Ritter, who have crossed every line. He adds that he was willing to ignore them if they stayed quiet, but now he will hunt them to the end. With that, they storm inside. The protagonist tells Hexax to take this side, splitting them up. Kurak begs to follow his master, but Hexax telling him they are going together. Even the protagonist tells Kurak to go with Hexax instead. Kurak absolutely hates the idea, utterly terrified of her. Hanya Wu sighs, having no time for cowards, so must move fast. Inside the prison chamber, the captors watch the action unfold outside. The lead conspirator is consumed by hatred as he catches sight of the protagonist, still craving his revenge. He grabs his sword. Just imagining what he will do to him brings immense satisfaction. He mutters, charging directly toward his opponent. Meanwhile, the leader of the Ritters tells the others not to let their ally fight alone. Meanwhile, Valpurgis realizes the protagonist has arrived to save her. She quietly realizes he always rescues her, remembering that ever since they met he has stayed close. Now rage fills her. At her own powerlessness, Valpurgis begins to tremble with fury, and through her rage the pillar she is tied to cracks. Elsewhere, Ritter laments that everything was going perfectly until that servant interfered, wishing he had gone to the capital himself. Suddenly, he hears a noise and is startled, quickly realizing that the Countess of Byron has freed herself, wondering how she broke through the reinforced lock barrier. Fully believing she cannot fight without a sword, he feels completely confident enough to strike first, but he is caught completely off guard as Valpurgis counterattacks with brutal force, completely shattering her opponent's weapon. Naturally, Ritter is shaken but insists he will not lose this battle. In his sheer arrogance, he takes a nasty right hook straight to the chin, even losing a tooth from the impact. Valpurgis makes it clear she cannot rely on others forever. She fully intends to finish. The opponent off on her own, Ritter attempts to argue back but can barely speak. All he can desperately stammer out is that he was never part of this scheme. Valparus simply replies that she does not care, but before she can strike, Ritter screams monster. She calmly retorts that calling a lady a monster is incredibly rude. Suddenly, she senses something massive approaching. An actual beast enters the battlefield. Seeing this, Ritter cackles because his true beast has finally awakened, promising a monster versus monster showdown. He addresses the massive brute as Igor, ordering the beast to shield him. Meanwhile, back with our hero, Han Jae-woo asks if he is heading the right way. Cubalt confirms. He explains he is watching through his familiars, and a beast named Igor just showed up. Igor is the terrifying human weapon they have been developing. He is the same beast responsible for the horrific slaughter at Ritter Castle, a truly vicious creature. Han Jae-woo frowns, realizing this is not part of the game's original plot. Just then, a loud voice shouts out his in-game name, Valorstead. Our hero quickly thanks Cubalt for the warning, saying he has to cut the call to handle a threat. The crooked conspirator from the Ritter family approaches him, saying finally. He snarls, promising revenge, but while busy mocking our hero, he completely fails to notice that his back is completely wide open. Instantly, a shadow summoned by Han Jae-woo strikes him hard on the skull, knocking him out cold. Face-planting right into the dirt. Talk about instant karma. He mutters that he needs to hurry. Back with Igor, he fiercely attacks the paladin. Valparus defends herself in her own clever way. She deftly dodges his massive swings, using her superior speed to her advantage. Then she senses something familiar about him, wondering if he was the one responsible for the ambush that dragged her here. Regardless of his identity, she declares that as a member of the Walpurga convent, she cannot lower her guard. Hearing this, Igor flies into a total blind rage. Valparus completely fails to understand this sudden, chaotic shift in his behavior. Ritter happily explains that the paladin spoke the forbidden word, screaming that Igor absolutely hates the Walpurga convent. With that, the lady's problems have just gotten significantly worse. At another location, Margaret Vontach grumbles about the awful food in the campsite. Her servant explains that their finances are in absolute ruins and will only recover if they can rescue Lord Vontach. Things are so bad they even had to sell their castle because of the brutal economic blockade. Margaret demands updates on the army, and her servant reports they received partial pay and complete medical care, but she snaps back that they should be doing nothing but training, despite her servant's pleas regarding their health needs. She claims they are weak only because her father spoiled every worker under him. The servant quietly murmurs that things were better under Lord Odgesh, until an irritated Margaret snaps and orders him to serve her some actual meat. The narrative then shifts back to a young Igor attempting to join the Walpurga convent, where a nun tells him how they must prove their faith through physical endurance was her way. Looking at the boy, she doubted he could barely lift a weight, let alone actually train. Still, she admired his dedication, but his lack of strength was a major roadblock. Plus, there was the fact that they only accepted women. It was a convent, after all. Igor carries that resentment to this very day. Back in the present, he attacked Valpurga solely because she dared mention his childhood trauma. Ritter burst out laughing, claiming that nobody could stop Igor once he got angry. But then, Ritter himself became a target for also bringing up the convent's name. Valpurgis had no idea why he hated that place so much, but it was clear that his fists carried a deep, heavy sadness. Realizing she couldn't just dodge forever, she counterattacked, slamming her fists right into his. Igor felt the force of her strike, which only pushed his rage further. He remembered his past, those nuns' words echoing in his mind, and how he swore to train to become stronger. But under that brutal daily routine, he started losing more and more hair. It left a permanent mark on him, but in exchange, he gained an Absolutely incredible physique. Valpurgis lunged at her opponent's stomach, but couldn't deal a bit of damage, so she aimed for his face, finding his real weak spot. After knocking him out cold, she declared that once Igor's fists stopped hesitating, she would face him again, but looking at the trembling fortress, Valpurgis began to wonder if she had gone too far. Meanwhile, back with our hero, Han Jaiwoo felt the tremors, wondering if it was a sudden earthquake. Suddenly the ceiling collapsed. It nearly crushed him, but he drew his magic sword instantly, slicing the heavy stones before they hit him. Still, the falling wreckage completely smashed a huge chunk of the castle. His path was blocked, but Han Jaiwoo snapped that he had no time for this. Right then, Cubalt called to say Valpurgis was fine, but the area she was in was extremely dangerous. He sent a bat to serve as a guide, telling him to rescue his dearest friend and escape as fast as possible. Meanwhile, Valpurgis believed Lord Valor was on his way and she had to find him quickly. After all, she wanted to confess what she couldn't say before. In that brief moment of distraction, a heavy rock nearly hit her head. Just then, Han Jaiwoo arrived, slicing the stone clean in half. Valpurgis was thrilled to see him again. Despite the dangerous situation, Han Jaiwoo felt the same, but then he saw a fallen enemy and asked who it was. Cubalt's bat urgently squeaked that they didn't have time for this. The place was caving in, forcing them to run, while Valpurgis was surprised that such a massive guy could fit in a tiny glove. The hero had stored Igor in his inventory, refusing to leave him behind, though he kept quiet. Valpurgis knew Lord Valor had a very big heart. Sprinting through the chaos, she shouted that she had a secret to reveal. Han Jaiwoo suggested waiting until they were safe, but the headstrong Countess insisted it was urgent. She then revealed that while Valpurgis wasn't her real name, her true name was Chartier. He remarked that it was a beautiful name, right before realizing they might not escape in time. Chartier also noticed this, but was immediately struck by the collapsing debris. Han Jaiwoo tried to shield her, but he was also hit hard. Valpurgis was worried sick, but our hero yelled that he survived. Despite the ceiling collapsing, they both narrowly escaped the crash. Safe and sound, he cheered as Hexax finally arrived. He quickly grabbed onto her wings to fly, stretching down to hold onto her hand. But just as Hexax warned that the entire castle would collapse in 5 seconds, he desperately tried pulling her out of there. Valpurgis struggled to hold on as the stone structure gave way. In a terrifying flash, the castle caved in with a massive crash. A huge cloud of dust engulfed the area, but everyone made it out safely. To make things better, since she finally revealed her true name to him, her affection level went completely off the charts.